When out of nowhere, a guy plummets. He smashes straight through an office window. The couple inside, who were right in the middle of some private business, are absolutely furious. After all, the secretary has a very tight schedule to seduce her wealthy boss. Exhausted, our protagonist just collapses onto the floor, needing a few minutes of quiet. Suddenly, a little girl startles him, asking if he is a beggar who passed out from hunger. He sits up, catching his breath, and warmly thanks the kid for offering her food. He feels pretty embarrassed, seeing how scandalously women dress in this modern era. 1 hour earlier, 3 mysterious figures stood on the edge of a high cliff. They coldly tell a defenseless boy to hope for better luck in his next life. Right then, a massive explosion rocks the entire region with unbelievable force. An insane surge of power erupts, sending shockwaves to the 4 corners of the world. Out steps a man who leaps straight into the clouds, finally completing his legendary training. Looking down, he realizes the world looks totally different from what he remembers. Suddenly, a strange voice calls out, asking him to descend for a talk. He complies, landing right in front of a man who turns out to be a hologram. The image explains that building the foundation of the Wu clan took 2,000 years. He warns that over such a long time, the world's spiritual energy has likely dried up. Wu is absolutely stunned. He has been training for 2,000 whole years. He only planned to stay in isolation for 2 days, not 2 millennia. Once the projection fades, Wu flies off to verify this shocking truth with his own eyes. That is when he spots 2 thugs brutally kicking a defenseless boy off the cliff. Though he senses zero power from them, the attackers immediately shoot at him to silence a witness. But Wu easily blocks the fire from their strange weapons. Using a mere fraction of his power, he redirects the attacks straight back at them. Shockingly, the thugs cannot handle their own firepower and drop dead instantly. Wu descends to the bottom of the gorge to check on the fallen boy. Sitting right next to the body is a peculiar, glowing metallic rectangle. When Wu picks it up, a frantic voice starts screaming from inside it. This tech proves that 2,000 years have indeed passed, introducing a bizarre new world. Realizing he lacks knowledge of this era, taking a new identity seems like the safest bet. Looking down at the deceased boy, Wu promises to give him a proper burial. Now wearing the deceased boy's face, he realizes this kid lived a pretty miserable life. To repay him for the identity, Wu decides to track down and punish his killers. Cut to a high-end boutique in Heizhou City, where a rich girl is utterly miserable. Her grandfather is forcing her into an arranged marriage with a man she despises. Luckily, her loyal best friend promises to help her escape this terrible fate. Now check this out, Wu is flying through the sky exploring this new era. That is until a giant, roaring metal airplane almost rams right into him. That shocking near miss is what caused him to crash land and ruin that couple's romantic moment. While he lay there recovering, that sweet little girl offered him some of her food. Suddenly, a sophisticated, wealthy-looking woman spots the kid and calls her over. The girl runs to her mother, but one of the woman's elite bodyguards charges forward. He viciously grabs Wu by the neck and arm, attempting a brutal throw. He wants to slam Wu's skull onto the concrete bench to teach him a lesson. But with a mere flex of his spiritual pressure, Wu sends the giant flying backward. Meanwhile, the sweet little girl clapped happily, cheering that her big brother was incredibly strong. Worried, the mother asks Yin Yin what she is doing with him. Hearing her explanation, the mother immediately orders her bodyguard to apologize. Bowing deeply, he apologizes to the young man. Resting on the bench, admitting he mistook him for a kidnapper, the woman softly thanks him for looking after her daughter, handing him a reward package. Their car is fully ready, but the little girl refuses to leave without saying a proper goodbye. Holding her hand, he instantly senses a deeply hidden illness. Luckily, curing this fatal disease will actually be quite simple, so he gently whispers to her that this special pill is just a sweet piece of candy to eat. Whenever she feels unwell, waving goodbye, he watches them drive off. The driver quickly announces their appointment with the country's top doctor is set. But wait, the driver spots a strange black pill in her hands. She refuses to throw it away. Suddenly, her body goes rigid. Admiration turns to sheer terror as a sharp, agonizing pain knocks her out. Terrified, the mother screams at the driver to speed toward that doctor. Through the pain, the girl remembers his words, clutching the pill tightly. Soon they arrive at Dr. Shu's famous courtyard, where the legendary healer watches through the window. Suddenly, the panicked parents burst inside, begging him to save their precious daughter. With calm composure, the doctor reassures Mrs. Wang, explaining that healing is his sacred duty before beginning to examine the unconscious child. Sadly, his face quickly drops. He regretfully admits her condition is hopeless, telling the mother to prepare for the absolute worst. Hearing this, the mother collapses to her knees, begging Dr. Shu to save Yin Yin, offering her own life in exchange, but the helpless physician can only offer a small dose to temporarily ease her pain. He explains that saving her requires the legendary 9 revolving rejuvenation pill, a divine medicine from 2,000 years ago whose sacred recipe is lost. He only possesses a tiny, useless fragment of that recipe, but wait. An incredibly rich herbal aroma suddenly fills the room. He notices something in Yin Yin's dress pocket. Pulling out the pill, the doctor gasps. The scent and perfect shape match the ancient description exactly, leaving the mother completely baffled. That is when she suddenly remembers the quiet young man who handed Yin Yin this medicine, claiming it would heal her. Hearing this, Dr. Shu declares this might actually be the legendary rejuvenation pill. Stunned, the mother asks if her daughter can survive. He just laughs, boasting that with this divine pill in hand, even death cannot claim her. He confidently promises her full recovery after a brief rest, making the mother weep with immense gratitude. However, the doctor quickly stops her, clarifying that her thanks belong entirely to the mysterious stranger who delivered it. He begs Mrs. Wang to introduce them, but she admits she has no idea who he actually is. Right then, she finally understands that the young man saw through the girl's illness immediately, quietly gifting her the miracle cure. Her husband mentions they encountered him near Heiju University, causing the curious doctor to wonder if this supreme medical master is actually a student there. They must head to the university immediately. This massive favor simply has to be repaid. In Dr. Shu's mind, a supreme being is likely masquerading as a humble student. That means they need to help keep his true identity entirely under wraps. After all, anyone who can hand out such high-grade pills cannot be ordinary. The Wang family has to lock down this valuable connection. Meanwhile, Yi Wu is wandering down a pretty crowded street when his silent phone suddenly begins to ring. He grabs a quick bite and picks up the unfamiliar call. An annoyed voice immediately asks how on earth his drivers managed to lose him. Then comes a sudden invitation to lunch, making Yi Wu freeze right on the spot. He knows that voice instantly. A single tear falls as a long-forgotten memory flashes. He remembers a kind woman offering him sweets. He quickly promises he will make it. But deep down, he wonders why this aunt sounds exactly like his master's wife. First, he meets a guy with his same name. Now this. How can someone have his exact name and a stranger share his master's wife's voice? Is this just a wild coincidence, or is something bigger at play? His master did leave some ancient relics stored away at Wan Bao Lu. That shop might hold the answers, but for now, a family reunion comes first. He heads to the massive Yunwu mountain villa to find Aunt Zhou. Inside the house, an annoyed voice complains about some uninvited guest. Another voice chimes in, wondering if this mysterious Yi Wu is actually hot. Zhang Xiaoru scoffs at that, but Lin Chen Qian teases her regardless. She brings up some guy named Zhang Xing, and the banter gets playful. Specifically, Zhang Xing, the student council president, while Lin Chen Qian giggles. Just then, a polite male voice calls out, asking if Aunt Zhou is home. Zhang Xiaoru raises an eyebrow. That voice is actually pretty pleasant. Outside the gate, Yi Wu double-checks the address on his phone. Peering through the security camera, the girls realize he is pretty handsome. Still, they are completely alone in the house and feel pretty nervous. Lin Chen Qian suggests unleashing the Lion King to scare this stranger away. Zhang Xiaoru worries the beast might go too far, but she agrees. The massive creature struts toward the gate as the girls watch breathlessly. It lets out a ferocious roar. This thing was a national champion last year. But Yi Wu simply stands there, completely unfazed by the threat. Instead, he reaches out, gently pats its head, and calls it a good dog. A sudden female voice calls out from behind, asking if he is indeed Little Wu. The shock hits him instantly. Could this woman actually be his master's wife? He blurts out master's wife, but she laughs, finding the title completely bizarre. She tells him to just call her Aunt Jo, exactly like he did when he was small. He quickly nods. Zhang Xiaoru runs out to cling to her mother. She whines that their mighty guard dog was tamed so easily. In response, her mother gives her a playful, light swat on the head. She scolds her for being rude, reminding her how she used to follow Wu everywhere. The girl blushes, asking if this handsome guy is truly her childhood playmate. Her mother laughs. Remember when you swore you would marry him when you grew up. Aunt Jo smiles, leaving the embarrassed youngsters to catch up on old times. She reluctantly shows the visitor around. He greets her warmly, calling her sister Xiaoru. But she quickly cuts him off, demanding he keep his distance, watching Xiaoru walk away. Yi Wu remembers how much his master's wife had felt like real family to him. Because of that deep bond, he swears he will protect her like his own flesh and blood. Even after 2,000 long years, but suddenly, a strange sensation stops him cold. An ancient, sinister demonic formation is manifesting right around the village. This cursed array begins draining the life force of his master's family. The enemy's intent is clear: wipe out their entire lineage for good. Yi Wu just scoffs, noting that whoever set this up is an absolute amateur. Even basic cultivators from 2,000 years ago would break this in seconds. Zhang Xiaoru breaks his focus, asking if he is amazed by the massive estate. Comparing it to the empty fields of his village, he quietly agrees. She explains that this location used to be an abandoned wasteland in Heiju. But 18 years ago, her grandfather hired a renowned feng shui grandmaster. This master reshaped the local ley lines, turning it into prime real estate. Now it is a sanctuary for the rich. Yi Wu asks if this master is truly powerful. She admits she has doubts, but the man is famous in metaphysical circles. In fact, when her grandfather fell gravely ill, this expert saved him. But to Yi Wu, this whole sequence of events smells incredibly fishy. An expert altering the Earth's veins 18 years ago and suddenly saving the family. It is far too convenient. He resolves to keep a close eye on him. Zhang Xiaoru changes the subject, urging him to keep moving along the path. As they stroll down a grand corridor, a servant quickly approaches them. He calls out to the young mistress and addresses Yi Wu as a young master. He announces that lunch is served and the lady of the house is waiting. But Zhang Xiaoru cuts him off, telling him to address the guest simply as Yi Wu. He just smiles. Since Aunt Jo treats him so well, he decides to be patient. Once lunch is over, Zhang Xiaoru flops onto her bed, absolutely drained. Shortly after, she sits up and complains to Lin Xianqian that the country bumpkin has bad motives, especially since her mother is actually letting him live in the villa. Lin Xianqian gently advises her to stay at school and just avoid coming home. She also suggests joining Professor Wang's prestigious university research team. Zhang Xiaoru plans to contact Professor Wang the moment classes begin. To make matters worse, she schedules a month-long vacation for the entire staff. Leaving Yi Wu entirely isolated, Lin Xianqian thinks this is far too cruel. But she scoffs, saying he can carry bricks or dig through trash to survive. Outside, Yiwu easily overhears the entire conversation with his sharp senses. Still, he shows no anger and reassures Aunt Joe that everything is perfect. He hands her an ancient family pill, explaining its immense healing benefits. It will restore Grandpa Jiang. With her help, he easily gets a legal identity. He prepares to head to Heiju University tomorrow after getting some proper rest. But suddenly, a thick wave of raw, murderous intent spikes in the air. Armed thugs sprint through the dark forest, ordered to hunt down the newcomer. Seeking bloody revenge for their fallen leaders, they hide in the bushes, watching. He senses them. In seconds, the enemies quickly surround him. Suddenly, one of them hurls a deadly dagger, but Yiwu dodges the weapon within. Agile step, the thugs immediately charge forward, screaming accusations that he killed their comrades. Their arrogant boss sneers that this kid must have some serious guts. To kill his men, he thinks Yiwu is completely tired of living. He offers two choices: kneel and end your own life, or well before he can finish speaking, Yiwu vanishes. He is completely gone, leaving them baffled. A thug frantically screams to the boss that their target has just disappeared. The leader frowns. Anyone capable of taking down his two best fighters must be dangerous. He immediately orders the squad to split up and search every single inch. He is certain the kid is still close. He decides to pull out a secret weapon. It is an artifact capable of locating anyone, even at the ends of the earth. Talk about a terrifying surprise. The pointer is aiming directly at his own chest. Right then, Yiwu appears from behind. He casually asks what that gadget is. The boss freezes. Too late, he realizes his target was behind him the whole time. Before he can react, Yiwu strikes, sending him crashing onto the hard ground. The leader groans in defeat. Standing over them, Yiwu demands that the captured thugs reveal their identities and who ordered the hit, but one of them groans to the boss, explaining they were totally immobilized before they could even move. The leader realizes this kid's power far exceeds a standard martial master. Yet their employer is even more terrifying, convinced of this. He chooses to take this dangerous secret straight to his grave. Right then, black blood pours from their mouths. Yiwu quietly observes the lifeless bodies and wonders what kind of enemy is powerful enough to deploy suicidal poison squads. This is getting serious. Realizing the sheer scale of the situation, he must train harder because the mastermind behind this is clearly no ordinary foe. To figure out how this new era works, he decides on a plan. He heads for Heiju University to blend in and study this modern world. Meanwhile, inside a high-tech control room, a commander demands an update on Hei's team. They've gone completely silent. Within moments, the supervisor receives some highly disturbing news. The vital signs of all 5 operatives have completely flatlined. From the shadows, a mysterious. He asks if they are all dead. Drone footage shows clear conflict, where the tracking signals cut out, but there is no trace of the actual killer. The shadow boss slams his fist onto the desk, calling them a bunch of useless idiots. He immediately sends out an urgent message. A direct order is dispatched to a new group to send someone truly elite to handle the job. Meanwhile, Yiwu steps off it. Bus in the busy city. Walking down the street, he notes that modern-day weapons are incredibly terrifying, meaning he must keep a very low profile to avoid unwanted attention. He wanders down the sidewalk, realizing he wouldn't stand a single chance of surviving if those giant machines turned on him. Suddenly, an old man walking by him clutches his chest in pain. Yiwu stops to observe this bizarre scene, while bystanders quickly shout a warning, claiming the senior is just trying to scam him. Hearing this, he can't help but pity the cold indifference of this modern society. Just as the old man collapses onto the hard pavement, he suddenly recalls his master's old teachings about maintaining a kind heart while traveling this mortal world. Driven to act against injustice, he steps in and places a secret pill right into the man's mouth. Moments later, the man stands straight up, and Yiwu remarks that he was quite lucky to meet him. With that, he walks away, telling them all to be good people. Another man helps the healed victim steady himself, asking how he is feeling now. He is totally baffled, wondering how he could possibly feel this healthy after such a brutal attack. He remembers something. A young man once gave him a very similar pill. Back then, he woke up feeling incredibly healthy, as if he had never been sick. Now, he immediately orders his subordinates to spare no effort in finding this mysterious savior. His subordinate quickly agrees. Nearby, birds drift over the campus of Heiju University. Indoors, Lin Zianqian celebrates, finally getting away from that annoying country bumpkin. Jiang Zioru agrees, glad her mother cannot pressure her. Suddenly, a classmate brings up some gossip about an attractive new transfer student. But Jiang Zioru scolds her. Seriously, does she only care about good-looking guys? Just then, the teacher calls for absolute silence to welcome their brand new classmate. As he steps inside, the female students immediately whisper about his striking looks. They even note how strange it is that he looks quite familiar to them. The two girls wonder if it is him, but quickly assume it is just a coincidence. Next, the teacher asks the new student to introduce himself to the class. He faces everyone and calmly introduces himself as Ye Beichen, using his actual identity. He chose to use his real name, prompting the female students to whisper about him. The teacher offers to find him an open seat upon hearing his given name. Jiang Zioru feels relieved because it sounds so much more pleasant. Immediately, a female student raises her hand and offers him the empty desk next to her. However, the teacher decides to turn to Jiang Zioru and ask for her opinion instead. The young woman quickly replies that she would also like to sit with the new student. The teacher begins to speak, visibly struggling to make a final decision between them. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen walks calmly down the aisle, ignoring the girl calling out for him. He approaches a different student, asking if he might sit there instead. The girl happily agrees. Meanwhile, some students whisper about Jiang Zioru's clear interest in him. They quickly decide to give the new kid a stern warning after class. Soon after, a group of hostile guys surrounds Ye Beichen right in the hallway. They aggressively ask him if he has ever heard of Zhu Xiong from Heiju University. The leader warns him to stay far away from Jiang Zioru, and Ye calmly nods. Believing it is best to avoid unnecessary trouble, he promises to keep his distance. He promises to stay 1,000,000 miles away, which makes them think he is quite smart. Even so, Ye Beichen finds them incredibly arrogant and secretly casts a subtle fire spell. As the gang struts off boasting, the leader's hair suddenly bursts into flames. Panic erupts as someone screams to put out the fire while Ye Beichen walks away. Walking off, he notes that barely half his power was more than enough. He wonders what the point of showing off strength is without any real cultivation. Shaking his head, he decides to visit the library to research this strange modern era. Meanwhile, on another part of the campus, a girl complains bitterly to Jiang Zioru. She grumbles that the new guy basically invited her, only to sit beside someone else. Suddenly, they both spot Ye Beichen walking right in their direction, catching their breath. They eagerly wonder if he is coming for them, but he just walks right past. He catches sight of Jiang Zioru. Suddenly, a bird flies directly overhead. It poops right on his shoe. Gross. Ye Beichen quickly kneels down. He only wants to clean the mess, but Lin Zianqian thinks it is incredibly romantic. She actually believes he is kneeling to propose, and at this, Jiang Zioru completely panics. No way, she shouts that she is too young to date and runs off. Ye Beichen stands up, grumbling loudly that he was only trying to clean a bird mess. But the misunderstanding is already set. From a distance, a dangerous group watches them. Their leader is furious. He is convinced Ye Beichen is courting his girl. He vows to end him immediately, while his men note him entering the local library. His men sharpen their weapons right there, whispering about getting some incredibly bloody revenge. Another thug grins, planning to ruin him so he never bothers her again. Talk about a dramatic overreaction. Inside, Ye Beichen is quietly studying. He opens a cultivation manual, but Lin Xianqian is still shadowing him every step of the way. She calls him a total fool for studying basic reading guides. Suddenly, he stops. A nearby board carries very familiar markings. It looks like high-level cultivation, but the others immediately start laughing at him anyway. They find it hilarious that a beginner is heading to the ancient archives. All their loud mocking ends up waking a man sleeping against a bookshelf. He sits up extremely annoyed and demands to know who is making all this loud noise. A guard rushes over to help, spotting Professor Wang nearby. The guard barks for absolute silence, reminding everyone to respect the study hall. He asks the professor if he needs help, but Wang says he is here for special research. As they reach the room, they suddenly find the door already unlocked. Professor Wang frowns, realizing someone is inside, and the guard goes pale. Apologizing for leaving his post, the guard charges inside. Inside, Ye Beichen is sitting quietly while reading a manual on basic combat techniques. The guard quickly corners him, shouting that unauthorized entry is strictly forbidden. He grabs Ye Beichen by the shoulder and demands that he leave the room immediately. The boy stays calm. He simply asks why he cannot read here. The guard laughs, mocking him by saying even the professors cannot understand these ancient texts. Just then, Professor Wang enters and tells the young man to stop. He asks him to be careful with such a delicate, ancient book. The guard offers to drag him out, but the old professor suddenly stops and stares. He recognizes that face. He steps closer to the boy. It is his savior. The guard, still clueless, demands the boy be punished. The professor completely snaps and demands the guard apologize to his young friend right now. Talk about a total backfire. He offended the worst possible person. A crowd gathers. Why is this kid getting such special treatment? Professor Wang completely ignores them, looking at his savior with a very warm and wide smile. The loud complaining is actually a perfect chance. He wants a test. He wants to see if this young man really understands the ancient texts. With a smile, the professor turns to Ye Beichen and asks him to demonstrate something. Without hesitation, the boy reads aloud, explaining a complex set of combat forms. The old professor listens, shocked, completely speechless. The kid actually understands it. Professor Wang can barely believe his ears. The old man explains how every word aligns perfectly with his own martial art. Even with the text incomplete, the revelation sends the guard collapsing in utter shock. The crowd watching from below realizes the reading is absolutely correct. Ye Beichen turns around to ask the trembling old man if he is okay. He quickly catches Professor Wang, who almost faints but stubbornly claims he is fine. Suddenly, the professor recognizes him as the savior who gave him that pill. Ye Beichen instantly assumes the old guy is just faking it. He thinks the professor only wants more free pills, so he makes a quick excuse. Saying he has urgent business, he bolts, leaving Professor Wang totally dazed. He wonders if his young savior always vanishes like the wind. The professor immediately tells his guard to find out which book the boy borrowed. The guard returns with a basic children book, Learn Pinyin with Me. Utterly baffled, Professor Wang assumes there must be some deep, hidden secret inside. He decides to study it himself. Meanwhile, shady men outside spot Ye Beichen leaving. As they tail him, he grins, realizing his targets have finally come to play. He even notices two separate factions tracking him, which only makes this more amusing. Time to have some fun. Hours later, he reaches the gates of Yunmu village. Stopping in his tracks, he turns around to ask his stalkers if they need a break. Shocked to be spotted, 3 armed men leap out of hiding. The leader wields a giant blade, declaring it is the perfect time to castrate him. Before anything happens, a shadow leaps from the bushes at insane speed. This newcomer slams directly into the blade wielder with a brutal, pinpoint kick. The guy goes flying. Instantly, the second group moves in and surrounds Ye Beichen. They surround him and demand he return the item, threatening him with pain. But Ye Beichen just acts dumb, asking what they are talking about. Tired of waiting, one of the thugs lunges forward to strike him down immediately. Ye Beichen simply floats into the air, calling them perfect training dummies. The thugs panic, shouting to go after the kid who tried to run away. Chains bind them instantly. Paralyzed, they realize they have been totally set up. They beg for their lives. Ye Beichen explains a sinister trap is hiding here. Someone set up a dark formation in this village, and he wanted to break it. Using this perfect chance, he channels the trap's own energy to shatter the formation. He tells the trapped thugs that they will serve a great purpose today. Redirection complete, he funnels all the stolen power into one massive blast. The explosive strike hits dead center, blowing the entire estate to pieces. Far away, a cult master coughs up blood, shocked that his formation is gone. Nursing his injuries in the ruins, the old man yells for his top disciple. A youth named Alan steps forward, and his master orders him to Heiju immediately. He must investigate. Nearby, another hidden observer watches in silence. Realizing Ye Beichen wiped out his entire squad, he calls for elite backup. Under the cold moonlight, a sinister voice vows to eliminate the troublesome kid. No matter how strong this boy is, anyone who competes with them must die. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen is strolling down a bustling street in a different city. He rubs his nose, sneezing and wondering who is talking about him now. Suddenly, another boy running at full speed crashes straight into his back. Ye Beichen is back. A man stands up and stares him down in dead silence. He suddenly bolts at high speed, sprinting straight past him without a word. Ye Beichen suddenly spins around and shouts in pure frustration because his wallet is completely gone. The thief glances back while escaping. Meanwhile, in an alley, Zhang Ziyuan sits. He tosses the empty wallet away, complaining about wasting his precious time. Later on, in the noisy male dormitory corridors of Heizhou University, Ye Beichen walks calmly. He stops right outside room 601 as a voice calls from inside. Zhang Ziyuan swings the door wide open and suddenly comes face to face with Ye Beichen. Looking closely, Ye Beichen realizes that this guy looks incredibly familiar. He instantly recognizes the thief, while Zhang Ziyuan sweats, wondering how this happened. Even with that realization, Ye Beichen decides to play it cool and pretend he knows nothing. Since they are roommates now, he flashes a friendly smile and introduces himself. He says he is Ye Beichen, a new freshman in the dorms. Eaten alive by guilt, Zhang Ziyuan quickly introduces himself and welcomes him inside happily. Stepping inside, Ye Beichen comments that this is indeed the perfect portrait of a modern dorm. To celebrate their first meeting, Zhang Ziyuan immediately invites him out for a late-night snack. Down in the courtyard, he admits it is nothing fancy, just simple street food. That is when a young woman approaches with their order, catching Ye Beichen's eye. He instantly recognizes her as Wu Ting, his classmate from university. She immediately recognizes him as well, completely shocked to see him there so late at night. Suddenly, a loud customer bangs his fist on a nearby table, furious. He screams about his missing fish. Wu Ting apologizes quickly. She promises it will be ready soon, but he demands compensation for his wasted time. Insisting that an apology is not enough, the man begins to pressure her aggressively. She stands there frozen. Then, the creep suggests she accompany him to a hotel. He suggests she pay him back inside a hotel room, causing the poor girl to beg him. The man stands up, accusing her of disrespect, and violently grabs her arm. He demands to know if she has any idea who he is. He tries dragging her toward the hotel, but Ye Beichen grabs his wrist. The customer turns around in a fury, demanding to know who dares to interfere. His companion jumps in, tossing out loud threats toward Ye Beichen. Zhang Ziyuan panics, whispering to call the cops. Honestly, I do not blame him. Instead of backing away, Ye Beichen stands his ground and coldly tells the thugs to get lost. The leader points at him, screaming at his henchmen to kill this kid. A heavy glass bottle swings straight toward him, but Ye Beichen doesn't blink. With zero effort, Ye Beichen dismantles them, dropping each thug with one quick strike. Zhang Ziyuan stands there in absolute shock, unable to believe his eyes. Wu Ting watches in disbelief, wondering if her classmate is actually a trained martial artist. The leader is shaking, unable to accept how quickly his men got wrecked. Ye Beichen holds the thug in place, calmly stating he is not easily intimidated. Even when the guy tries to lock handcuffs on him, Ye Beichen just smiles and shows the key. Completely broken, the guy drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness. Once the cowards run away, Wu Ting steps forward and softly thanks him for his incredible help. He smiles, telling her there is no need for such formalities between classmates. Since it's late, he offers to walk her home, gently taking her hand. As they walk together, Ye Beichen asks her why she has to work so late. Wu Ting explains that her mother is sick. Suddenly, the young man stops in his tracks. Looking up, he shrugs it off, claiming he was just momentarily distracted. They continue walking. Reaching her doorstep, the two of them say their quiet goodbyes. After Wu Ting heads inside, he turns around to inspect the strange energy leaking from the building. There it is again, that familiar presence. It is definitely spiritual energy. Such a heavy concentration means this place is highly unusual. It demands a closer look, and right then, a clever plan comes to mind. The very next day, Zhu Shang and his local thugs corner their target inside a restroom. These guys are loud, proud, and absolutely ready to get their sweet revenge. They sneak up from behind, throw a giant sack over his head, and prepare to beat him. But soon, agonizing screams from the men's bathroom echo down the hallway. Inside, the attackers are on their knees, begging for mercy from a completely unbothered Ye Beichen. Talk about a complete turnaround. Zhu Shang begs, asking what it takes to get released. Ye Beichen grabs him by the collar. He demands a price. Desperate, Zhu Shang offers a measly 100 to settle the score. A hard slap instantly shuts down the offer. He demands if he looks like a beggar. Terrified by the response, the thug quickly raises the bid to 1,000. He gets a heavy punch instead. Zhu Shang wonders if his life is worth that little. Doubled over in pain, he begs his attacker to stop. Isn't 1,000 enough? Instead of stopping, Ye Beichen cold-bloodedly demands a massive 10,000. Zhu Shang gasps, utterly speechless at the sheer size of the demand. Cash in hand, Ye Beichen walks away, noting that this is perfect rent money. He notes that 100,000 is plenty to rent a place, while they bow him out. One of the lackeys asks if they are really just going to take this humiliation. But Zhu Shang quickly shuts him up, warning that absolutely nobody can ever know. For now, they need to fix their broken faces before plotting any revenge. Back in the classroom, the teacher prepares to start a brand new lesson. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen has much bigger plans as he leans over to Wu Ting. He asks her straight up if her family is looking for a roommate. Since he saw their sign, he wants to rent that vacant room. She is totally caught off guard by his sudden offer. No games here, he tells her the rent cash is already good to go. Their whispering quickly gets on the strict teacher's nerves. She snaps at him and whips a piece of chalk straight at his head. He catches it easily, then he tells her to take some medicine for her failing health. Furious, the teacher demands to know exactly what he just muttered to her. He tries to play it cool and quickly explain his friendly medical advice. It backfires, she kicks him out, so he happily heads to the library to study alone. Before stepping out, he reminds Wu Ting to save that open room for him. With the troublemaker gone, she tries to resume her boring class lecture. Right then, her phone rings with a call from the respected Professor Wang. The professor wants Ye Beichen recruited for his exclusive research team immediately. Stunned, she promises to find him immediately, then turns to face the quiet classroom. She asks who this kid actually is. Slowly, Wu Ting raises her hand. He casually lets her know that he is the exact student she just kicked out. Panicking that she just insulted some major VIP, the teacher bolts out. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen is chilling in the library, completely lost in a book. She eventually tracks him down, and he asks why she is not in class teaching. Stepping up nervously, she quickly apologizes for her earlier behavior. She explains that Professor Wang personally invited him onto the prestigious team. She even admits she was totally wrong about him, acting completely clueless. Ye Beichen acts totally bored with the whole thing, while the anxious teacher explains that their project is actually based over at the History Museum. She eagerly suggests he go check it out, but his only response is that he needs to finish reading his book first, leaving her incredibly awkward. Meanwhile, over at the school clinic, Zhu Shang is nursing his wounds. His lackeys crowd around his bed, asking what the plan is now. After a second, he decides to dial up a powerful regional boss. To teach Ye Beichen a painful lesson, suddenly a goon spots their target. Strolling right past the window outside, clenching his phone, Zhu Shang snarls that this time he is going to absolutely destroy him. He calls Chang, asking for backup to deal with a troublesome punk. On the other end, Chang chills at a restaurant and asks for the target name, which Zhu Shang gives. Right after, the local thug revs up his scooter and tells his crew that it is time to move out. He tears down the road, literally knocking his own guys onto the concrete. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen stands outside a massive hall, looking for the museum, when suddenly a loud voice yells out his name. It is Zhu Shang, instantly accusing him of stealing cash. Entirely unbothered, Ye Beichen turns and asks if they are seriously asking for another round of beatings. Zhu Shang just sneers, bragging that he called the mighty Chang to handle him. Right on cue, Chang and his gang roll up, with Chang leading the pack. Skidding to a halt, he barks at his guys to point out the target. Zhu Shang eagerly points right at Ye Beichen, gloating, but the second Chang locks eyes with him, he freezes. Why on earth is this monster here? Flashbacks of almost dying last time hit him, and he realizes this idiot Li Ju is actively trying to get him killed. Ye Beichen notes the newcomer is the backup, while Zhu Shang demands that Chang attack, but watch this, a heavy slap right to Zhu Shang's face. Holding his cheek, he desperately asks why. Instead of answering, Chang bows deeply to Ye Beichen, begging for his mercy, and barks at Li Ju to get on his knees and apologize too. Completely shell-shocked, Zhu Shang starts realizing Ye Beichen is an absolute hidden powerhouse. Stepping down, Ye Beichen tells Zhu Shang to fight him since Chang won't. Instantly, Zhu Shang drops straight to his knees, completely terrified. He begs, admitting his mistake. Ye Beichen asks why he keeps coming back for more. Zhu Shang just stays on the ground, crying out and pleading for mercy. Then Ye Beichen demands to know exactly how much he is going to pay for the massive mental distress he caused today. Hearing this, Zhu Shang freezes, utterly stunned that he has to pay a massive fee for emotional damage. Getting impatient, Ye Beichen warns things will get ugly if he does not pay up. Paid, prompting Zhu Shang to offer another 10,000. At that, Zhu Shang hands over a credit card as collateral. With the card in hand, Ye Beichen bids them farewell and even invites the group to visit him again, while Zhu Shang grumbles about having no money left. From a distance, a hidden man watches it all, remarking that the kid has a few tricks up his sleeve, but nothing special. As he walks along the sidewalk, Ye Beichen suddenly stops. In that moment, he realizes the trap set in Mist Mountain Village has been destroyed and his master's wife is in danger. Without wasting a second, he dashes off at high speed, leaping across the city rooftops. Elsewhere, someone reports over the phone that the kid has already departed. As he nears the village, Ye Beichen senses a suspicious aura that's no longer active. Intrigued, he wonders who could have done it, while his gaze lands on the mansion, revealing several people inside. Honestly, he just finds this chaotic mess pretty amusing. Alan points at the approaching young man and orders his men to encircle him quickly. The guys surround Ye Beichen, immediately preparing for a brutal fight. In a confident tone, Alan commends his bravery for showing up and declares he will die for disrespecting his master. Immediately after, he grabs Ye Beichen, demands to know why the formation was destroyed, but the young man Plays dumb. Annoyed, Alan calls him an idiot and attacks, only to have his blow blocked at the last second. Without breaking a sweat, Ye Beichen drops a few guys and warns the rest to get out of his way if they do not want to die. Leaping over them, he scoffs, calling them trash for daring to face him with such pathetic strength. On the ground, Alan demands to know why his men are standing there, yelling at them to capture Ye Beichen. Obeying the order, the henchmen charge forward in formation to attack. Soaring over the forest, Ye Beichen muses how amusing it is to find yet another brainless organization waiting for him, hidden among the trees. Another group gets ready, their leader determined to get back the two books. Spotting Ye Beichen approaching, the leader tells his men to await his signal. As soon as he lands, Ye Beichen sees everyone is there and provocatively invites them to play. Next, he shouts for the cowards who are following him to come out of hiding. From a distance, Alan is surprised to see the target actually has backup. Annoyed, the other group leader grumbles about attracting so many people along with their target. Still, he decides to ignore the problem and orders his men to kill everyone. Suddenly, one of them drops to the dirt and vanishes in smoke. Without hesitation, Alan charges forward to attack, while the other group's leader yells at him to get out of the way. Just then, something blocks Alan's axe. Immediately, the two factions start fighting in the forest, perched on a tree branch. Ye Beichen calmly eats an apple, telling them to fight to the death for his amusement. The leader watches the entire confrontation through his artifact. During the battle, Alan realizes his opponent is surprisingly strong. Finally landing among the fallen men, Ye Beichen asks if they have settled their issues or still need his help. Alan turns around, surprised to see Ye Beichen just arriving. The man on the ground groans. He demands to know what Ye Beichen is doing there, finally showing his face. He swears he'll kill him if he gets the chance, and Alan suddenly realizes they have all been tricked. Ye Beichen asks with a smirk who called him brainless. He adds that he was actually being too kind to them this whole time. Suddenly, Chong claims he finally understands everything now. Ye Beichen just calls him an idiot, driving Chong into a murderous rage. Ye Beichen blocks the strike easily, mocking him for showing off such weak skills. With one swift movement, he slams Chong violently into the dirt. Watching from the side, Alan remarks on his opponent's incredible footwork. Chong struggles back to his feet, admitting that the kid has real skills. Ye Beichen just looks extremely bored, not impressed by his praise at all. He says fighting them one by one is exhausting, so they should just team up. He tells them not to waste time. Infuriated, Alan grips his weapon tightly. He warns him not to be arrogant, then shatters the floor completely to prove his point. He boasts that he can easily kill him alone, but Ye Beichen simply dodges. Ye Beichen casually remarks that the strike wasn't half bad, though totally useless. Flashy tricks don't work here. Out of nowhere, he flicks Alan on the head. That simple finger flick literally makes his head explode. Chong stares in horror. He cannot comprehend what just happened, while Ye Beichen stands calmly over the corpse. Turning his gaze directly to Chong, Ye Beichen announces that he is next. Chong calls him a complete monster, then tries to run away immediately. But there is no escape. Ye Beichen easily cuts off his path. He asks if he really thought he could escape, then easily takes him down. He tells him to train harder in his next life, then leaps away. He leaves all his enemies sprawled on the ground as the scene shifts. At Heiju University, a woman muses that it's been a while since she joined. She wonders what kind of guy this new member of the team will be. Right then, Jiang Shearo enters the room and greets senior sister Chu. Chu announces the new arrival and tells the team to introduce themselves. But Jiang Shearo interrupts and asks where this new guy is. Chu calmly replies that he must still be on his way. Suddenly, a man appears at the door. He asks if this is the project team, and Jiang Shearo instantly recognizes him. She gasps Ye Beichen's name. Chu stands up to confirm that he has found the right place. She realizes he must be the new member, and he introduces himself. He introduces himself as Ye Beichen. Chu happily notes how handsome he is. She says it's great to have him. Meanwhile, a man in a purple suit watches. He notices Chu's obvious interest in the handsome newcomer. Jealous, he decides he needs to teach the rookie a lesson. Ye Beichen asks for Professor Wang, but Chu explains he is busy today. He won't make it. Meanwhile, someone discreetly steals something from Ye Beichen's pocket. The man in the purple suit notices the theft and grins, amused. He waits to see what happens. Soon, Ye Beichen notices something is missing. Someone took his belongings. Suddenly, the man in purple yells for security. He loudly accuses someone of theft, and 2 security guards quickly arrive. They demand to know who dared to steal. Immediately, the man in purple points. He points directly at Ye Beichen, accusing him. Ye Beichen just turns to Chu. Realizing this is a total setup, Chu asks in confusion what he could have stolen. But Ye Beichen denies taking anything at all. Still, the annoying guy in the purple suit keeps pushing, claiming he literally saw Ye Beichen steal the precious Suho pearl. He claims the pearl is on him right now. Ye Beichen instantly challenges the guard to search him. The security guard steps forward, ordering him to stand still for the search. The guard thoroughly pats down Ye Beichen. Finishing up, he turns to the crowd. He announces there is nothing. The purple-suited man gasps in disbelief. "This is impossible," he shrieks. Ye Beichen then announces the pearl has actually been found. He adds that someone must pay for this trouble. The man in the purple suit gets highly offended by the slander accusation, but Ye Beichen immediately challenges him to let security search him. After hesitating for a split second, he agrees to the search, claiming he has absolutely nothing to hide, so the security guard orders him to open up his hands. While the search is going down, the man in purple wonders what went wrong. He placed the pearl into the target's pocket himself. Yet it was not there. Just a moment later, the security guard reaches out and pulls the pearl from his pocket, announcing the discovery to everyone, staring at the gem. He stammers that this is impossible. Unable to hide her pure disgust, Chu accuses him of trying to frame an innocent man while being the actual thief. She regrets ever doubting Ye Beichen. The cornered thief tries desperately to deny everything, but he keeps blabbering that he threw the pearl right onto Ye Beichen's clothes earlier. Yet somehow it ended up back in his own pocket. Ye Beichen calmly asks him if a guy with such low intelligence really thought he could play mind games. Like him, now watch, we finally see how Ye Beichen secretly slipped the pearl back into the purple suit's pocket without him ever noticing. After witnessing this massive scam, Chu declares that framing someone is a major crime. The project team will never tolerate a toxic snake like him, so she fires him on the spot. Dragged away by the guards, he begs senior sister Chu to give him another chance, but the guard bluntly tells him to save his breath. Watching this unfold, Ye Beichen remarks that the guy is just reaping what he sowed. Chu then sincerely apologizes for the drama on his first day. He shrugs and says it is totally fine since the truth finally came to light. To make things up, she invites him to a welcome dinner. He happily accepts, saying it would be a real honor. Cut to later, the entire crew is happily raising their cold beers, grabbing a bite at the barbecue. Ye Beichen finds his drink incredibly refreshing. Curious, Q asks why he picked a simple barbecue place over other fancy spots. He replies he wanted to support the business of a local acquaintance. Right on cue, Wu Ting arrives serving the plates. Ye Beichen asks when she is finally taking him to see her place, suggesting they go tonight. Wu Ting happily agrees. Watching them, Zhang Xiaoru can't help but wonder what's going on, sensing a strange vibe between Wu Ting and Ye Beichen. He quickly bids everyone farewell to go handle some personal business. And Zhang Xiaoru nods understandingly. That's when he gently grabs Wu Ting's hand, announcing they are heading to her apartment right this second. Watching them leave, Zhang Xiaoru mutters that those two definitely have They make quite a beautiful couple. Inside the apartment, Yi praises the pleasant view while Wu Ting explains the cheap rent. Costing only 500 yuan a month, he hands over 10,000 yuan, promising to pay the rest later, leaving her completely stunned. Seeing her reaction, Yi explains that he intends to rent for a long time. This small amount is really nothing to him. Wu Ting agrees to settle the difference later and waves goodbye. Telling him to rest early, he watches her walk away. Alone inside, he feels the abundant spiritual energy naturally flowing inward. He sits to meditate, but his concentration is suddenly broken. A strange noise rings out from the street below. He freezes. Immediately, he rushes toward the open window. What is the Lion King doing down there? A white beast starts forming. The creature begins materializing right before his very eyes. It is an enormous, fur-covered beast, letting out a terrifying roar. The monster charges the dog. Is it actually a spirit beast? Watching closely, Yi finally understands why the energy here is so dense. Without hesitation, he punches the concrete with massive force. Crack, the ground splits. He locks onto his target. He prepares his strike, gathering power in his hands. In a flash, he charges straight toward the white beast. With a heavy kick, he unleashes a devastating blow on it. The monster slowly begins to dissolve into thin air. As it completely vanishes, Yi spots something unexpected, but wait. In its place stands a small white wolf, staring right back. No hesitation, he aims a powerful punch at it. Next, he absorbs the residual spiritual energy lingering in the air. Suddenly, massive wings sprout on his back, launching him skyward. He floats down. Below him, the Lion King is barking excitedly. Yi asks if he is upset his prey got eaten. Instead of answering, the dog runs over to a trash pile, barking. Intrigued, Yi approaches and finds a hidden spiritual vein. No way, he never expected to find a vein here. This explains the high energy and why those beasts gathered. It is the ultimate spot for his training. Let us see. He decides to test out the 1,000-mile eye technique. An ancient book immediately materializes right in front of him. His eye glows with power. The dense energy makes it work. His vision easily pierces through the walls of the building. Spotting Wu Ting in the bathroom, she quickly senses something. The next morning, a loud ambulance pulls up outside. The noise wakes Yi. He wonders what is happening. Outside, he sees Wu Ting begging her unconscious mother to wake up, desperately. Trying to stay calm, a nurse says there is no room inside and tells her to take a taxi to the hospital instead. She stands alone. Yi approaches. Worried, he asks what happened. She explains that her mother suddenly collapsed and was already rushed to the emergency room. Desperate, Wu Ting begs him to take her there to see her mother. Inside the room, her mother lies critical, surrounded by doctors. Doctors surround her. Finally, one of them admits that it is useless to continue. She cannot be saved. The doctors claim not even a divine healer could help. Her disease is just too rare, but right then, Yi steps forward and tells them to wait. Wu Ting breaks past them, rushing right to her mother's side in absolute panic. She begs the doctors to save her, weeping that her mother is all she has left. But the grim response is the same. The disease is simply too rare to treat. Seeing her despair, Yi steps up and quickly examines her mother's condition. He diagnoses it as a clash of rare energies and says there is a way. One of the doctors instantly questions him, doubting a random student has any skills. Yi keeps his cool, calmly replying that he is only stating the facts. The older doctor asks where he studied to speak with such massive arrogance. The blunt answer leaves him stunned. Yi claims he is entirely self-taught. The younger doctor demands that he leave, but Yi challenges them to let him try. A life is on the line. Suddenly, the senior doctor interrupts them. Asked if he believes him, the old man admits he actually expects Yi to fail. Still, he demands the family's consent, meaning Yi must take full responsibility. No hesitation, Yi immediately accepts the risky terms of the gamble. Completely confident, Yi is ready to gamble, leaving the doctors utterly speechless. Turning to Wu Ting, the senior doctor asks if she really permits this treatment. Yi looks at her gently, asking her to trust him to save her mother. With a trembling voice, she agrees. This is their last hope. With the green light given, Yi tells the medical team to step aside. Unrolling his scroll, he reveals a set of sharp silver needles. Without hesitation, he drives a needle in. Watch closely because things are about to get wild. He begins connecting her meridians. It is time to balance her energy. Suddenly, the mother sits up and coughs up a pool of thick, dark blood. They scream she is dead, but Yi calmly asks who said anyone died. Furious, the doctor tells him to stop denying it and look at her. Suddenly, Wu Ting gasps. Her mother is slowly opening her eyes. The doctor is stunned. Wu Ting rushes over, asking how she feels. The mother whispers that she feels much better, though she cannot stop coughing. Yi calmly reassures her that she will be completely fine in about 30 minutes. Intrigued by the miracle, the doctor asks who he really is. Yi keeps it humble, quietly replying that he is just an ordinary student. The younger doctor bows his head, deeply apologizing for doubting his legendary skills. Yi accepts the apology, telling him to just pay closer attention next time. Her mother weakly asks her daughter who this incredible young man is. Wu Ting introduces Ye Beichen, explaining that he just saved her life. Later on, she wonders aloud how she can ever repay such huge help. Yi smiles, telling her it is easy, just take him to her house. Back at her house, Yi devours a feast, piles of empty plates mount. Stacked right next to him, satisfied, he announces he is finally full, while Wu Ting stares at the mountain of empty plates. Confused, she asks if his promised payment was just her cooking all this food. Getting up, he simply shrugs, wasn't it? He's satisfied now, so he decides to head to his room to sleep. Wu Ting agrees. It all seems way too simple. Alone at the table, she wishes Yi good night. She quietly thinks that he is a genuinely good guy. Honestly, marrying someone like him would be amazing. Later, as he meditates, Yi realizes cultivation here is twice as fast. He needs to speed up, but suddenly a sharp bark breaks his focus. Rai Leon is right there. Biting his sleeve, Yi wonders if the smart pup is trying to warn him that someone inside this mansion is targeting Aunt Jo. It hits him instantly. Someone actually dared to conspire against his master's wife. They have crossed a line. And everyone involved will pay with their lives. Without hesitation, Yi leaps from the balcony, the loyal dog diving right alongside him. Meanwhile, at a demolition site, a man explains to a lady that Master Yi saved them just in time by warning them to evacuate, preventing a major tragedy right before the big blast. This Master Yi sighs that the sacred Yin Feng formation was completely destroyed, warning that to keep her elderly father alive, they must rebuild it immediately. Desperate, the woman promises him anything. With a smooth smile, the master says he only needs one tiny thing, a single drop of her heart's blood, no surgery required. Despite how creepy that sounds, she instantly agrees to suffer through the pain if it keeps her father alive. He politely ushers her inside to begin the ritual. Hidden away, two shady figures watch the whole setup. One scoffs at how gullible she is. Seriously, she had no idea she was being scammed. He hurry up and rebuild the array. The younger brother tells him not to fret, boasting that he's already mastered this Yin Feng layout and can build it in seconds. He tosses a glowing talisman high up, and it instantly duplicates, creating a massive array above the grass. Below, the ancient circle begins to glow. Moments later, a violent storm of energy swirls overhead. Suddenly, the young caster frowns, wondering why the weather is acting so bizarrely all of a sudden. Watching from afar, Yi whispers that he is here, pointing up. The young cultivator gasps, shouting to his brother that someone is riding a flying sword, but his brother corrects him. Yes, that is literally a flying dog. Talk about wild. On Closer look, Ye spots the forbidden Yin Feng array being rebuilt, and now knows why Rai Leon was so fired up. One of the cultists sneers that they just found a rare spirit beast. The other warns they cannot let the intruder ruin their hard work. Instantly, one of them unleashes a barrage of dark wooden spikes, screaming to kill them. Sharp thorns erupt from the soil, shooting directly at Yi and his floating pet. Moving swiftly, Yi swings his sword, releasing a devastating blast of energy at his enemies. The slash effortlessly cuts the thorns to pieces. Seeing the tide turn against them, the older brother screams at the top of his lungs for them to get out of the way. The blast blows the two villains backward, landing gracefully. Ye Beichen confronts them for casting the forbidden Yin Feng formation. He calmly asks if they do not value their own lives. Instantly, the older brother realizes that they fooled completely. It is no monster. The younger brother grumbles. He confesses he was terrified when Ye Beichen played Ghost, absolutely furious. The elder brother orders them to execute Ye Beichen for interrupting their ritual. He calls him trash, who only knows how to scare people. Ye Beichen simply asks if they have accomplices. Their skills are too weak. There is no way low-tier trash could construct the grand Yin Feng array. Silent, the elder brother draws his blade. He signals his sibling. They must unleash the dark Tong Yin matrix together, and the younger one nods. The elder brother immediately channels his forbidden power, the celestial heart demon spell. It is a vile curse meant to shatter minds and kill without trace. The younger brother grips his ritual banner, roaring to activate the array. The dark matrix flares to life on the ground, trapping Ye Beichen completely. The elder brother begs a dark god to grant him power to slay gods. Instantly, foul dark energy warps his flesh into a hideous demonic beast. Ye Beichen watches calmly, amused to find demon worshippers lurking in this modern age. But before he can even finish, a sudden, blinding strike hits the beast. It crumbles, yet the desperate monster still lunges forward, screaming. It demands his death. Effortlessly, Ye Beichen simply exhales a soft breath. A massive, violent gust hits the beast dead-on, instantly tearing it apart. The demon shell completely disintegrates. Instantly, Ye Beichen corners the survivor. He asks the remaining cultivator why he chose to abuse his power. Grabbing him by the throat, Ye Beichen reminds him of his crimes. Honestly, you can't help but respect his direct style of absolute justice. With a casual flick, he tosses him aside. The younger sibling crashes hard. Hitting the dirt, his brother desperately screams his name in pure panic. Gasping for air, the fallen youth warns that this enemy is too fast. Terrified, the elder brother turns tail and runs for his life. Glancing back, he fiercely vows to return with their master for revenge. But in a split second, Ye Beichen materializes directly in front of him. The youth coldly asks if he really thinks a master can save him. With effortless shadow steps, Ye Beichen intercepts and tightly grabs his neck. He demands to know who commanded them to set up this Yin Feng barrier. The coward immediately begs for his life, promising to confess everything. Without delay, he blabs that their master is hiding inside the mansion. He was the one who ordered them to set up the ritual. Ye Beichen demands to know the true identity of this mysterious leader. He reveals their master was once a grandmaster of Longhu Mountain. Banished for breaking sacred taboos and succumbing to a dark, demonic heart. Afterward, he established a rogue sect and gathered many young disciples. Years ago, he discovered an ancient treasure buried deep beneath this mansion. Since it normally takes 100 years to mature, he devised a scheme. He built the Yin Feng formation in secret to forcefully speed things up. It drains the life energy of the local residents to feed the artifact. Still groveling, the elder brother begs for mercy, swearing he has confessed everything. But Ye Beichen merely looks down, questioning if such scum deserves to live. Deserves to live, he announces that wicked cultivators deserve nothing but death and attacks to wipe out the man's soul. Afterward, Ye Beichen realizes his Master's wife is in grave danger. He needs to reach her immediately, but intervening directly would expose his true power, so he needs to hide his level. Meanwhile, Aunt Jo tells Master Yi she is ready for the heart blood extraction. Master Yi confirms he will do it right away. When she questions the dagger, he quickly lies that it is for the procedure. Highly suspicious, Aunt Jo accuses him of lying. After all, he promised cutting her flesh would not be necessary. Suddenly, Master Yi lunges forward with the weapon, shouting that she is far too late to realize his deception. Terrified, she shrinks back in her chair and screams for help. Before the blow lands, Ye Beichen suddenly teleports in and catches Master Yi's wrist, stopping him cold. Ye Beichen slams Master Yi hard against the wall. Then he steps in beside Aunt Jo and calls Master Yi an old villain for hurting innocent women. And doing it in broad daylight, no less. Thankfully, Ye Beichen realizes that with his disguise on, his master's wife will not recognize him at all. Master Yi scrambles to his feet, demanding to know who this arrogant kid is that dares to stand in his way. Instantly, he hurls a powerful talisman at Ye Beichen, shouting that the boy is practically begging for death. The paper immediately summons a vicious spirit that lunges forward, ready to fight. Ye Beichen declares that Master Yi is a disgrace of a cultivator who defies heaven itself. With one effortless punch, he completely obliterates the spirit, just like that. Then he slams the floor, declaring that the old villain must pay. In pure shock, Master Yi cannot believe his 10-year malevolent spirit was instantly destroyed. Approaching, Ye Beichen coldly asks what he is looking at. Desperate to defend himself, Master Yi summons a barrier and claims he is not easily scared. Too bad his shield gets shattered by a single punch, forcing the old man to realize this kid is actually insanely powerful. Left with no choice, Master Yi drops to his knees, summoning his final malevolent spirits. Calling on his ultimate trump card, he dares the kid to try and stop them. In response, Ye Beichen calls upon thousands of gods and saints to guard his soul. Massive chains manifest out of thin air, rushing straight toward the evil spirits. Utterly shocked, Master Yi asks who he really is. Terrified by this godlike power, stepping forward with one of the chains, Ye Beichen shouts back that he is his father. Furious and completely done, the old man curses his luck. Without a second thought, he leaps right out the window, yelling that he surrenders. Smirking with pure disdain, Ye Beichen dares him to run, laughing to see how far he will get. Desperate, Master Yi flees through the woods, incredibly relieved to have escaped that absolute monster. But wait, a giant dog suddenly appears behind him. With a swift pounce, the beast slams him to the dirt, pinning him down. Right after that, Ye Beichen strolls up, casually telling the Lion King that this guy called him a dead dog, so he should probably teach him a lesson. Snarl on its face, the Lion King viciously bites Master Yi. Smiling, Ye Beichen pats the massive dog on the head, praising its brains, and tells it to tag along from now on. Right then, he senses that his master's wife is closing in with reinforcements nearby. Standing over Master Yi's body, a harsh voice orders everyone to clear out. The suited men quickly scramble to hunt down the fleeing old Taoist. Aunt Jo arrives moments later and finds Master Yi dead on the ground. She recognizes a true master's work and vows to reward him if they meet. Meanwhile, far away from the chaos, Ye Beichen speaks with the Lion King. He explains that his spiritual reserves are running dry and require urgent replenishment. To fix this, he chooses to sit down and cultivate right where they stand. He promises the Lion King a share of energy in exchange for guarding him. Suddenly, a heavy hand grips his shoulder, warning him to leave immediately. Spinning around, Ye Beichen demands to know who they are and their problem. The attacker coldly explains that they serve as the personal guard for Mr. Huo. No one is allowed to disrupt their master while he refines his martial arts. Ye Beichen scoffs, calling the highly praised technique nothing but fancy footwork. Furious at the insult, a bodyguard snaps at him for disrespecting the elder. The other guard steps forward, declaring that the boy is practically begging for death. Before a fight breaks out, the old master arrives and commands them to stop. The guard begins explaining the situation, trying to justify their aggressive stance. But the old man cuts him off, having heard every single word already. Turning to Ye Beichen, the elder demands to know his critique of the form. The youth bluntly explains that the moves lack proper flow and genuine power. Offended, the old master reveals that this ancestral art is his family heritage. He warns that insults won't be forgiven unless the boy can back them up. Ye Beichen calmly offers a deal. He will fix the flawed technique himself. His only price is temporary use of these private grounds for his cultivation. Labeling the youth arrogant, the elder agrees to this wild wager. He promises to bow and call him master if he actually succeeds. Without batting an eye, Ye Beichen accepts the terms and steps forward. He tells them to watch closely because he is only showing them once. He strikes, and honestly, the old man is left completely speechless. The exact same forms are producing several times more devastating power than before. The bodyguards can only watch in absolute awe, whispering about his strength. They realize they are incredibly lucky they did not try to fight him. Stepping forward, the elder admits he finally comprehends the true path of fists. He bows deeply, offering his sincere gratitude to the young grandmaster. Apologizing for his previous rudeness, a guard nervously asks about the grounds. The old man stands firm, keeping his word is a matter of honor. He officially hands over the entire area to the young cultivator on the spot. Ye Beichen simply requests that they clear out and leave him in peace. Granting the request, the elder immediately commands his men to fall back. With the area cleared, Ye Beichen finally sits down to begin his work. He tells the Lion King to take up a guard position nearby. While departing, the old master quietly instructs his guards to dig into his past. As he meditates, the young man turns over the recent strange events. The entire situation feels far deeper and more dangerous than anyone realizes. He suddenly realizes Aunt Jo and his master's wife are incredibly similar. He also notices that the young Taoist and Master Yi were both cultivators. This makes him wonder, could all of this be just a coincidence? He pulls out his phone, deciding he absolutely needs to find out more. He calls senior sister Chu, asking if the school has any historical archives. Specifically about events from 2,000 years ago. Records are scarce, though. But she mentions a research time heading to an ancient tomb soon. It dates right back to that era, so she invites him along. Hearing this, Ye Beichen agrees to meet up with her tonight. He wonders, will he finally uncover the truth inside that ancient tomb? Reaching the dark site, he asks senior sister Chu if this is it. She nods instantly. Next, he asks about the other people waiting nearby. She explains they are hired bodyguards brought along for their own protection. The tomb is dangerous, very dangerous. The last team never even returned. Zhang Xiao Ru nervously mutters that she never should have come along. That is enough nonsense. Senior sister Chu tells everyone to quiet down. No more talking, she warns that they will all descend together. The group enters the dark, creepy cave, soon reaching a massive cavern. The girls gasp at the size, one noting her house is smaller. Senior sister Chu explains their mission is finding the lost archaeological team. They must also bring valuable ancient relics back to the school. Suddenly, Ye Beichen whips his head around, sensing immediate danger nearby. She asks what is wrong, but he claims he just felt dizzy. Meanwhile, 3 masked men watch them, noting a new team arrived. They were sent by their secret organization to retrieve the treasure. Clutching a strange object, the leader declares they are taking it all. Nobody else gets out alive. Suddenly, he hurls the weapon forward. It launches a barrage of sharp projectiles directly at the group. Ye Beichen shouts a frantic warning, pushing Chu away from danger. Incredible, he actually catches the incoming projectiles with his bare hands. Stunned, the masked leader cannot comprehend how his deadly attack failed. The bodyguards draw their weapons, shouting for the intruders to show themselves. Out of the thick, heavy fog, three masked figures step forward. One terrified girl screams they are ghosts, but Chu urges calm. They are just human, she insists, as guards aim their guns. Stop right there or we fire, the guards yell, but they laugh. Go ahead and shoot, the leader taunts. A guard pulls the trigger. You are asking for death, he growls. Instantly, the leader lunges. He moves incredibly fast, throwing sharp needles as the guards shoot. Multiple shots ring out, but the guards are hit by the needles. The girls cling to each other, screaming that they have been killed. Now one masked villain looks over the three women with a smirk. They look like real fun, he says, and it has been long. The leader chuckles cruelly, agreeing they should each claim one for amusement. They will play first, then kill. Hearing this, Ye Beichen steps forward cold. They completely forgot he was there. Suddenly, one turns. He complains his presence was so faint, it nearly slipped past. The other brother steps up, telling him this weak kid is an easy target. He claims he has dealt with show-offs like him many times before. He throws a strange sphere. Ye Beichen just scoffs at his arrogance. As it flies close, he effortlessly stops it with his bare hand. He mocks the attack, saying it could not even snap a twig. The sphere explodes in smoke. The masked villain laughs, claiming he won. Coughing in the heavy haze, the three girls cover their faces. With a quick wave, Ye Beichen clears the smoke, calling him disgusting. Stunned, the thug asks why he is still standing without a scratch. Ye Beichen asks if he really thought a cheap trick could stop him. Furious, the masked goon draws a sharp dagger and glares with absolute rage. He screams about being insulted and charges forward, intending to kill him. But Ye Beichen easily catches the oncoming blade with just 2 fingers. The metal instantly shatters. Next, he strikes the attacker right in the neck. He uses his fingertips. Watching their partner drop, the other two freeze. They finally realize they are dealing with an absolute monster. Ye Beichen gives them a chilling look, asking if they want to fight together. Or maybe one by one. Terrified, the younger brother asks what to do. The leader snaps at him to stay calm, claiming he still has tricks. Right then, he proudly pulls out a hidden, powerful secret weapon. Ye Beichen instantly recognizes the glowing relic as a soul-sealing lamp. The boss smirks, telling him to drop to his knees and beg. His brother laughs, claiming that the kid is probably shaking in fear. He sneers that if he crawls at their feet right now, they might spare his life. But before he can even finish talking, Ye Beichen moves like lightning. He delivers a crushing, direct kick straight to the man's groin. Doubled over in intense pain, the goon screams that this guy is dead. The leader activates the glowing lamp, screaming that Ye Beichen is finished. Calmly, Ye Beichen watches the relic, calling it pretty interesting. He admits he actually likes the soul-sealing lamp quite a bit. As he turns around, dark chains suddenly erupt and swirl in the air. He whips one chain directly into the other masked attacker. The leader panics as his partner's soul is violently ripped from his body. The victim screams for help, while the leader desperately pulls the chain. Suddenly, the lamp drops to the ground, releasing a massive wave of energy. Terrified, the leader falls to his knees, begging his brother for forgiveness. Ye Beichen steps closer with the lamp's light, offering a cold invitation. He calmly tells him to join his partner as his soul is ripped. Now he holds the lamp as the dark chains drift around him. Suddenly, he senses a strange, lingering energy deeper inside the cave. He gently lifts senior sister Chu and feeds her a rejuvenation pill. He calmly promises she will wake up as soon as she swallows. Meanwhile, the other two girls slowly sit up, groaning in pain. Nurses her headache, trying to figure out what just happened. Suddenly, she turns. Around in spots, the bodies sprawled across the cold floor. Terrified, she hides behind Yi. Beichen pointing and shrieking that a dead body is right there, soon after. The other two girls stare in horror at the fallen figures. Senior sister Chu asks what is happening, and Ye Beichen suddenly realizes he forgot to clean up the mess. Thinking fast, he cooks up a quick lie, since their bodyguard died. Protecting them, he managed to grab a weapon and win by pure luck. The girls praise his bravery, calling him incredible, though he humbly says they are exaggerating. To change the subject, Ye Beichen points out a strange wall he found. A soft touch reveals a hidden passage, leaving him highly curious. What lies ahead? One of the girls gasps that this must be the entrance to the main tomb. Excited, they all agree to go check it out. Ye Beichen notices the spiritual energy in here is incredibly thick. He wonders if there are other cultivators hiding out in these dark depths. Soon they stumble upon a few skeletons sitting in a circle on the ground surrounding a sword thrust into the stone. Confused, one girl wonders what they were doing here and why they met their end in this main tomb. Senior sister Chu steps closer to the weapon. She reaches her hand out to touch the sword hilt. Instantly, Ye Beichen yells out, "Do not touch that." Ignoring the warning, she grabs it. Immediately, she is blasted violently. Backward, Ye Beichen catches her midair, warning her to be much more careful. He helps her steady her footing, while the other girl watches in shock. Outside, brilliant lightning strikes across the dark sky, right above the mountain. Zhang Jiayun watches the storm, wondering if some magical event is triggered. Soon, she feels the spiritual energy from the tomb suddenly skyrocket. She questions if some legendary treasure has finally appeared inside. Right then, a scout reports that they have lost contact with the team inside. Hearing this, she orders a squad to move in with her, leaving the rest to guard. Back inside, Ye Beichen turns and asks senior sister Chu if she is all right. She nods, saying she is fine and thanking him for the quick save. Terrified, the other girl whimpers that there must be a real ghost in here. And this place is way too creepy. Suddenly, a skeleton slowly starts rising. Ye Beichen warns everyone to stay back and stand directly behind him. Fully upright, the skeleton demands to know who dares trespass in its master's domain. It orders them to retreat. Unbothered, Ye Beichen asks for its master's name. The creature responds that as lowly servants, they cannot speak that name. Suddenly, the other skeletons rise and charge forward, screaming for them to die. Ye Beichen smiles, since talking isn't an option, a fight it is. He leaps directly into the crowd of enemies, ready to take them all on. With one massive hit, the bony enemies are sent flying in every direction. Stunned, senior sister Chu wonders how Ye Beichen can use such powerful magic. On the floor, the last standing skeleton gasps, asking who he really is. Gripping his sword, Ye Beichen calmly says his identity doesn't matter. What actually matters is that these boneheads have officially annoyed him. With one swift slash, he completely shatters what is left of them. Turning to the ancient remnant soul, he tells it to rest. Go in peace, he says. Meanwhile, senior sister Chu approaches. She demands to know who he really is, but he offers only reassurance. Don't be afraid, he promises, then the central sword starts vibrating. Enormous energy violently explodes from the weapon plunged into the ground. Watching the blast, Ye Beichen wonders if this is a thunder sword. Could it hold lightning magic? Behind him, the three girls look up. They stare in complete surprise. Suddenly, Zhang Jiayun and her group enter. Leaping into the tomb, she smiles, boasting there really is treasure here. Senior sister Chu is totally baffled by this sudden turn of events. Honestly, this whole situation feels like a scene from a movie. Keeping her confident smile, Zhang Jiayun points her blade at Ye Beichen. She demands he hand it over, claiming they targeted this treasure long ago. He remains completely unfazed, asking if this is just another enemy wave. One of her men offers to lead a team to deal with him directly. He notes the kid has some cultivation. Instantly, she orders the attack. Her entire gang charges forward. One aggressive thug lunges with a sword. He screams that this territory is theirs, telling Ye Beichen to disappear. Our hero effortlessly dodges the slash, then he punches the guy's chest. The man hits the floor. Quickly, a hard kick launches another opponent. He watches them fly, casually asking if they really meant to rob him. Stunned by his raw power, Zhang Jiayun realizes they need a strategy. Brute force will not work. Suddenly, one of her men grabs Lin Chenqian. Holding a cold blade to her, he threatens her as Jiang Zioru panics. She desperately asks what he is doing, while Zhang Jiayun acts generous. While she claims to overlook her dead men, she wants that sword. Hand it over now, she demands, or your friends are going down. The threat is deadly. Terrified, Jiang Zioru begs Ye Beichen for help. She cries out that she does not want to die. He raises his hands. I surrender, he says calmly, telling her she can take the sword. Zhang Jiayun immediately orders her lackeys to keep watch over the girls. Smugly, she leaps toward the weapon, cheering that the prize is hers. But suddenly, massive chains manifest out of nowhere and bind her men. Their souls are violently ripped from their bodies while they scream for help. Checking on them, Ye Beichen asks if they are okay, and Chu nods. Enraged, Zhang Jiayun demands to know why he attacked after giving up. He calmly replies that with her men gone, she is the only enemy. There is nobody else to worry about. She admits his skills are good. But with that thunder sword now in her grasp, he is doomed. Suddenly, two energy dragons erupt from the blade she is holding. The beasts charge at Ye Beichen, who calls her incredibly rude. What can you actually do with that sword? He asks, lifting a massive slab. Zhang Jiayun gasps in shock, unable to understand how this is possible. Without hesitation, Ye Beichen hurls the giant rock directly at her. Charging forward, he tells her the Thunder Sword is a spiritual weapon. He offers to teach her the right way, driving her to utter madness. Furious, she attacks instantly, but her sword strikes absolutely nothing. Too late, she realizes it was just a fading afterimage. In a flash, Ye Beichen appears right beside her, whispering in her ear. With one smooth motion, he sweeps the Thunder Sword right out of her grip. Watch closely, he commands, before a massive wave of pure force hurls her backward. Now he demonstrates the true power of the weapon, unleashing absolute chaos. Jiang Jiayun tries desperately to shield herself from the oncoming storm. But her defense is utterly useless against the crushing energy. The lightning strikes her dead on, and Ye Beichen catches her falling body. He checks her pulse, noticing glowing ancient runes carved onto the blade. She crashes violently onto the hard stone floor. As her body bounces upward, two terrified young women watch in horror. One screams hysterically, completely convinced that the girl is dead. Ye Beichen steps out of the smoke, assuring them she is still breathing. Trembling with fear, one of the girls asks who he is and how he uses magic. He smiles calmly, telling them that this is not magic at all. It is cultivation, he explains, as a glowing spiritual sword floats beside him. Claiming the legendary 9 Heavens Thunder spell made this long trip worth it. Outside the tomb, crackling lightning flashes across the pitch-black sky. Watching from afar, Master Yi wonders if an ancient treasure has emerged. He quickly pulls out his phone to see if Jiayun secured the prize. But the screen only tells him that her device is completely unreachable. Master Yi immediately realizes that something has gone horribly wrong. Back inside, Ye Beichen opens his eyes and whispers that he is ready. He looks down at Jiang Jiayun, coughing on the ground. Honestly, this girl is incredibly tough for even surviving a blast like that. But he is not about to show her any mercy just yet. Ye Beichen grabs her by the throat, forcing her to beg for her life. When he demands to know her identity, she quickly confesses everything. She is from the Guanchen sect, sent to steal the Thunder Sword. He releases her, noting that ancient cultivation sects still exist today. The Thunder Sword belongs to me now, he declares coldly. He tells her to leave, but Jiang Jiayun desperately grabs his arm. She begs him to wait, making him ask if she still wants the weapon. Instead, she begs to follow him, promising to do absolutely anything he wants. Ye Beichen questions her motives, and she explains her desperate situation. She failed her mission, and her sect will execute her if she returns. He simply shrugs, coldly stating that he is not interested. Turning away, he calls out to senior sister Chu, saying it is time. Lin Xianqian cheers, thrilled to finally leave this creepy, haunted place. Jiang Jiayun asks what he plans to do with his clueless friends. He calmly replies that he will simply erase their recent memories. Since his cultivation was exposed, wiping their minds avoids any future trouble. They will remember absolutely nothing of what happened here. The next morning, 3 girls are peacefully asleep in the same bed inside the office. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen quietly goes through the old manuscripts they brought from the tomb. But honestly, he is not impressed since they do not seem worth much. Chu finally wakes up, rubbing her eyes and asking where they are. He notices she is awake and explains they are in the office. She asks about their return, but he says everyone simply fainted. It was a lack of oxygen. Suddenly, his stomach growls incredibly loud. He mumbles about feeling pretty rough and needing a break. Telling Chu to keep resting, he rushes out to find a restroom immediately. Down the hall, he asks a random staff member for directions to the men's room. The guy points to a blank door, and Ye Beichen quickly heads inside. But the moment he steps in, he finds a woman already using the space. She instantly screams pervert, shoving him backward with absolute fury. She confronts him wildly, asking if he actually came in there to peep. Before he can even explain, she lunges forward to strike him down. She hits him with numbing needles, warning that the poison will freeze his body. Winding up a brutal kick, she promises to make him smell like absolute garbage. As he collapses, she tells him this is exactly what he deserved. Now trapped on the toilet, Ye Beichen groans that he is the real victim here. Meanwhile, 2 students in the corridor are busy gossiping about a new teacher. One asks if the new arrival is that famous doctor Jiang Xiaohua. Her friend confirms it, calling her an absolute genius doctor in her early 20s. One girl tries to open the bathroom door, only to find it completely locked. And trust me, the guy inside is dealing with a total nightmare. Internally, Ye Beichen complains about how ruthlessly she blocked his energy points. But he is not giving up, channeling his own power to break free. Determined to escape, he forces his inner energy to push the poison out. Standing back up, he celebrates his quick recovery and vows to find her. Over in the main office, that very woman introduces herself to a staff member. She presents herself as Jiang Xiaohua, the newly appointed instructor for the school. The staff member smiles warmly and hands over some of her class materials. But right as Jiang Xiaohua accepts them, the door is kicked wide open. A thuggish man bursts in with 2 lackeys, shouting that he finally found her. The staff member warns them that unauthorized people are not allowed inside. The thug tells her to shut her mouth and flashes a deadly dagger. In one quick blur of movement, he brutally drives the blade into her. Liu Gisheng smirks, saying they can talk, while Jiang Xiaohua stays incredibly calm. He reminds her about the extremely rare herb she outbid him on recently. But she cold-facedly replies that she has already given the rare plant away. Furiously, Liu Gisheng orders his men to seize her and tie her up. They drag her screaming into the back of a car, ignoring her protests. The thugs snap at her to be quiet as their vehicle speeds away. Walking nearby, Ye Beichen catches a glimpse of the suspicious scene and frowns. Suspecting a kidnapping, he decides to tail them and investigate what is happening. An hour later at a dark warehouse, Liu Gisheng corners his hostage. He looks at the tied-up girl and gives her one last chance, demanding she make the call to get his herb back or suffer, but in response, she spits right in his face. She fires back that the precious herb belongs to her and he has absolutely no right to steal it. Enraged, Liu Gisheng slaps her hard, swearing to kill her if that herb isn't returned immediately. But she just glares back. Losing his mind, he starts tearing at her clothes. As she screams for him to stop, then the heavy warehouse door flies off its hinges with a loud crash, forcing the villain to turn around. Ye Beichen strolls right in, joking that things seem pretty lively here. The thugs step forward immediately, demanding to know who he is and why he is intruding. Meanwhile, Jiang Xiaohua is stunned. How is he even walking? After she paralyzed his entire body with her specialized poison needle. Liu Gisheng mocks him for trying to play the hero, but Ye Beichen simply tells him to drop to his knees and beg for forgiveness. Shaken, the young master asks if he is actually serious. Jiang Xiaohua screams out for Ye Beichen to run away and not interfere, warning him that Liu Gisheng kills without hesitation. One goon sneers, saying their young master will not let him leave. Hearing this, Ye Beichen sighs, noting that he did give them a fair chance to walk away with an apology. Liu Gisheng has heard enough and barks the order to execute him. Instantly, both thugs draw their sharp blades and charge forward. Jiang Xiaohua screams a warning as the first blade lunges right at him. But Ye Beichen catches the bare metal with his hand, turning the weapon right back on his attacker. Watching this unfold, Liu Gisheng freezes in shock. Realizing this kid is insanely powerful, honestly, nobody saw this coming. Ye Beichen turns to the young master, whispering that he is next before hurling the sharp knife straight at him. Terrified, he pulls Jiang Xiaohua in front as a shield. Screaming for mercy, Ye Beichen halts his strike instantly, calling him a pathetic coward for hiding behind a woman. As he glares at the coward, the injured thug leaps back up for a sneak attack, only to get met with a precise and brutal kick. He drops both men instantly, leaving the young master shaking in fear. Realizing he is facing an actual cultivator, Liu Gisheng screams for Jiang Cheng, who steps up, promising to shred the boy to pieces. Jiang Xiaohua yells for Ye Beichen to run, warning him that Jiang Cheng is a deadly martial artist. Arrogant and confident, Jiang Cheng boasts that he never misses a single target, and that the kid dies today. Completely unfazed, Ye Beichen invites him to try and show him exactly how he plans to do it. Instantly, the ruthless martial artist charges, shouting that the boy has a death wish before launching a deadly swing. Ye Beichen admits he has some skill, but calls it mediocre. Right before delivering a brutal counter, Liu Gisheng and Jiang Xiaohua can only stare in utter shock at the scene, crashing onto the hard floor. Jiang Cheng finally realizes he is dealing with a fellow master. Coldly, Ye Beichen asks why he is down already if he was so eager to kill. Gritting his teeth, the martial artist admits his mistake and unleashes another strike, but Ye Beichen slips past him effortlessly, striking him hard from behind. Without even realizing what hit him, Jiang Cheng collapses dead. Liu Gisheng he despairs seeing his henchman killed so fast. Ye Beichen slowly turns to him and warns him that his time is up. Trembling, the young master kneels and begs for mercy, while Ye Beichen demands to know where he went wrong. Liu Gisheng confesses he never should have touched those herbs or kidnapped Jiang Xiaohua. Sobbing that he deserves death, silent, Ye Beichen slowly raises the blade. In one swift flash, he slices deep into Liu Gisheng's arm, then declares this is the bloody price for kidnapping, ordering him to get out. The coward nods and flees, desperately clutching his bleeding arm. Ye Beichen steps over to Jiang Xiaohua, assuring her she is safe, but the trembling girl only whispers a question, asking who he is. He introduces himself as Ye Beichen, saying she can consider him a colleague as she stammers an apology. Calmly, the young man admits he actually walked into the wrong restroom first, and though he wanted answers, he ended up playing hero. Suddenly, a massive truck roars forward and crashes through the walls, aiming right for Ye Beichen. Without hesitation, he throws Jiang Xiaohua aside, taking the brutal collision directly. The impact throws the girl flying across the floor. From the truck, a woman barks a harsh order to get Down and check if this kid is the target they are hunting, right then. A brute named Lin Kunyi corners Zhang Xiaohua, demanding she hand over the stolen treasure. Ye Beichen groans as he stands up, cursing about whatever blind driver just smashed into the building. Zhang Jian points at him, revealing that he is the punk who raided the ancient tomb. In total disbelief, Lin Kunyi cannot believe the kid survived a head-on truck collision. Zhang Xiaohua runs to Ye Beichen, frantically asking if he is okay. He grunts that his left arm is shattered and his entire body is numb. Panicking, she promises she will find some silver needles to treat his injuries and fix him. Ye Beichen tells her not to worry because he has some medical pills on him, but the second he reaches for one, a flying dagger impales his hand. Lin Kunyi sneers, furious at being ignored, and warns the kid he is dreaming if he thinks he can heal before handing over the prize. Bleeding but unbothered, Ye Beichen calmly asks what happens if he refuses. The brute growls that he will pry it from his corpse, hurling a barrage of lethal daggers. The steel rains down directly toward Ye Beichen and Zhang Xiaohua. He yells for her to watch out, lunging forward to shield her from the attack. He tackles her hard to the ground to save them from the deadly blades that slam deep into the brick wall right behind them. Then he pulls her close, whispering to hold on tight as a thick dust cloud explodes around them. From the haze, Lin Kunyi warns that some treasures are not for him. Wounded, Ye Beichen grits his teeth, realizing his broken body cannot unleash its true power. Sensing his clear weakness, the enemy charges instantly, grabbing him by his collar, violently shaking him while screaming for the tomb treasure. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaohua sneaks up behind him and smashes a heavy wooden plank across his head, screaming for him to let go of Yi. The blow cracks his skull, making him turn in pure rage, snarling if she actually dared to strike him. In a flash, he lunges, stabbing at her and growling that she wants death, but a massive sword blocks the lethal strike just in time. Ye Beichen glares at Lin Kunyi, daring the killer to try and take the prize. The man merely smiles. He coldly warns there is no turning back now, but Ye Beichen does not back down. He asks if the thief really thinks he can just steal his things, then blasts him with electricity. Shocked and annoyed, Lin Kunyi complains that a sudden ambush is completely dishonorable. Charging straight through the flying daggers, Ye Beichen yells for him to drop dead. But his opponent easily dodges the storm of blades. Still, one dagger gets through. The weapon slices right into Ye Beichen's chest, and a terrifying spirit beast emerges. A giant serpent projects from the blade and lunges directly at his chest. The impact hits him squarely, sending him crashing into the wall. Lin Kunyi approaches. He mocks the kid, saying he expected a much tougher fight, then picks up his sword. He calls him absolutely useless and prepares to end this fight once and for all. He screams for Ye Beichen to go to hell, but the boy manages to dodge. He quickly grabs his healing pill. Angered, Lin Kunyi raises his sword high above his head. He declares the weapon a legendary treasure and orders him to die, but watch this. The young man catches the razor-sharp blade with his bare hand, stopping it cold. He calmly explains that he was only holding back because of his recent injuries. Lin Kunyi cannot believe his eyes, stammering that this is completely impossible. Ye Beichen calls him ignorant, then immediately lands a devastating punch to his face. Watching him stumble, he asks the coward if he's trying to run away now. Zhang Xiaohua stares at the bodies on the ground, wondering if she should call the police. Suddenly, Ye Beichen clutches his head, gasping that he used too much spiritual energy, making his entire world spin out of control. Zhang Xiaohua rushes to hold him up, calling his name in sheer panic. Realizing she lacks her acupuncture needles, she quickly decides to call an ambulance. She contacts emergency services, reporting a critical patient. Half an hour later, the ambulance finally arrives. Inside the moving vehicle, she holds his hand, desperately begging him to stay awake and remain with her. At the hospital, a nurse tells her that the chief doctor is busy, so she must wait. She checks Ye Beichen's pulse herself, finding it surprisingly stable. It feels as if he is just in a deep sleep. Suddenly, the nurses are called away to help another patient who just fainted. Seeing this chance, Zhang Xiaohua slips away to the Chinese medicine wing to find some acupuncture needles. She wants to cure him. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen wakes up and slowly sits up, confused. He wonders how he ended up in a hospital, realizing he is incredibly weak. He must find a spiritual place to absorb energy or keep passing out. Outside, a massive billboard advertises a traditional medical showcase. It features a divine miracle doctor. Inside, an assistant speaks with his boss. He reports that preparations are ready, but the boss asks about the actors. Confused, the assistant repeats the word, not understanding what he means. Annoyed, the boss calls him useless and explains they need fake patients. They hire actors to pretend to be sick. Shocked, the assistant promises to fix this immediately and runs out. Half an hour later, he gathers a group of men, offering double pay if they cooperate perfectly. Just then, Ye Beichen walks up and asks where the exit is. The assistant is startled, while the young man slowly walks toward them. He notes that this group does not look good at all. The man grabs him, telling him there is no need to overact just because he wants to be a real actor. He then shoves him into a van, praising the performance. The van speeds off as the man orders the driver to the event location. Back inside the hospital, Zhang Xiaohua calls out to Yi, letting him know she is back. But she only finds an empty bed, wondering where he went. Meanwhile, a massive crowd gathers outside to watch Dr. Zhu Jiazhen's live medical demonstration. Inside the grand hall, wealthy men in suits are already seated. The assistant confidently assures his boss that all the hired actors are completely ready. Moments later, he steps onto the stage and demands absolute silence. He proudly announces that the grand show is officially starting. He invites Dr. Zhu Jiazhen up, asking everyone to welcome him warmly. Dr. Zhu waves, warmly thanking the audience for coming. He states that a doctor's true mission is simply to save lives and heal wounds. Next, he presents a set of rare silver needles, claiming he successfully replicated the legendary treasure. In the crowd, two onlookers whisper to each other about how incredible it looks. Dr. Zhu announces that if this rare medical treasure can be promoted globally, countless people will benefit, especially since he intends to offer them at a special price today. But one skeptic questions if it really works at all. He confidently assures them it does, calling for the patient. Right on cue, the assistant appears pushing a stretcher with Ye Beichen on it. He loudly announces to the crowd that their critically ill patient has finally arrived on stage. He explains that these needles will instantly cure this dying man, proving their incredible power. Let's see if this divine miracle actually works. As Dr. Zhu prepares to grab a needle, a jade pendant in his pocket suddenly glows. Pure spiritual energy flows directly from the pendant straight into Ye Beichen's body. A confused Dr. Zhu wonders what is wrong with his hired actor. The guy woke up before a single needle could even touch him. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen wonders where this sudden surge of pure spiritual energy came from. He quickly traces the source straight to the jade pendant. The doctor angrily whispers, demanding he cooperate with the act. Otherwise, he won't get paid, but Ye Beichen calmly asks what act he's talking about. In that very moment, the entire scam suddenly clicks. Smiling calmly, he agrees to keep playing along, but he demands the jade pendant instead. If they refuse his demand, he will expose their entire fake operation right here. Left with no choice, a panicked Dr. Zhu quickly agrees to the deal. Satisfied, Ye Beichen lies back down as the doctor pushes the stretcher. He tells the young man to stay completely still and gently applies a single needle. But the moment it touches him, Ye Beichen immediately stands right back up. The audience erupts in applause, completely amazed by this instant miracle cure. But behind closed doors, Dr. Zhu Jiazhen fumes that this kid went way too far. He vows to make him pay for daring to covet his precious family treasure. Unbothered, Ye Beichen calmly demands the pendant, inviting him upstairs to sign a contract. 10 minutes later, the doctor sneers, asking if he really thought he could steal it. Confused by the sudden change in attitude, Ye Beichen asks what he means. Suddenly, Zhu Jiazhen stands up with a cold, triumphant grin on his face. He accuses him of trying to steal the pendant, telling him to keep dreaming. The young man calls him a complete fraud for selling fake products and shifting blame. Annoyed, the shady doctor sneers and asks what he plans to do about it. He screams for his heavy hitter, a massive henchman named Big Nu. Zhang Chang appears instantly, claiming the boss called for him. Backed by two goons, they surround Ye Beichen as Zhu Jiazhen mocks him. But instead of backing down, Ye Beichen steps forward and reaches out. With zero warning, he delivers a brutal slap right across the doctor's face. Sprawled on the floor, Zhu Jiazhen furiously orders his men to grab him. Zhang Chang charges in immediately, swinging a heavy wooden club. But Ye Beichen easily dodges, striking his chest and demanding the pendant. Another lackey grabs his shirt, warning him that he is going to die. Effortlessly, Ye Beichen hurls both men aside and barks at them to move. Watching them fly, Dr. Zhu is stunned by the kid's insane strength. Leaving no room for escape, Ye Beichen corners him and grabs his collar. He demands the pendant, and under the crushing pressure, Zhu Jiazhen finally cracks. The trembling doctor reaches out, handing over the prize. Ye Beichen snatches it. He notes some people only learn their lesson when death is staring them down. Before leaving, he warns the scammer to stop selling those cheap fakes. Later, at the school courtyard, we find the classroom is surprisingly quiet. Zhang Ziwen asks if he has finally decided to show up for class. He warns him about failing attendance, but Ye Beichen just demands some quiet. Shrugging, Zhang Ziwen agrees, deciding to take a quick nap on his desk. Sitting quietly, Ye Beichen holds the pendant, realizing its true value. It is perfect for training his clairvoyance. Meanwhile, Lin Cunny approaches Master Yi. He asks if they can ship the valuable goods they uncovered underground. Master Yi explains that was the sole reason they seized this construction site. He reveals they uncovered a mysterious stone fragment inscribed with Treasure Pavilion. Suddenly, Ye Beichen vanishes. Zhang Ziyuan turns around, completely startled. He wonders what just happened, but the spot is completely empty. Ye Beichen is already rushing toward the gates of the construction site. He wonders if the ancient Qingyun sect's treasure pavilion is truly hidden there. As he arrives, two workers stop him, asking what he is doing. One asks if he is looking for work, and he quickly nods along. The man notes plenty of people are desperate for work these days. He suggests trying out as a brick carrier, and Ye Beichen agrees. Suddenly, a massive shockwave from deep inside the site rattles the gate. Stunned, the worker wonders what on earth just happened. Ye Beichen remarks that it looks like a major accident just went down. Go check, he urges them, and what they find next is a massive, smoking crater. They whisper that the site collapsed again, recalling the heavy casualties last time. Right then, Lin Cunny arrives alongside Master Yi, ordering everyone to clear out. The workers recognize Master Yi immediately as the elite pair approaches the edge. The old master orders everyone to back away so he can examine the pit. He wants to inspect the depths personally. After taking a look, Master Yi frowns. Sensing an incredibly thick wave of spiritual energy, pretty curious, Lin Cunny asked his master if there was any treasure, who confirmed there was a ton of it. Thrilled, the young man cheered, calling it absolutely excellent news. Soon after, Master Yi ordered him to grab some workers and explore the site immediately. Lin Cunny knew he needed more hands. Right on cue, a foreman shouted to the men, announcing they found a massive treasure. Several workers immediately stepped forward to volunteer. Ye Beichen volunteered too. Without a single second of delay, the foreman ordered everyone to prepare for the long descent. He quickly let Lin Cunny know they were fully prepared, adding that his boss had approved the whole plan. Turning to the team, Lin Kun warned them to stay sharp as they headed down. Grinning, the foreman hollered to the guys that they were all about to get filthy rich. Inside the massive cave, Lin Kun noted how huge it was, definitely not a typical tomb. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen realized the spiritual energy here was somehow even denser. Just as a worker pointed into the distance, right ahead, the silhouette of an ancient underground palace appeared. Lin Kun could barely believe his eyes, asking if it was real. The men realized they were standing before a legendary ruin packed with treasure. Thrilled, a worker screamed for everyone to run and grab the loot, scanning the grand layout. Ye Beichen wondered if this was the famed treasure pavilion. Suddenly, one of the men found a chest overflowing with jewels and cheered that he was rich. Suddenly, though he got yanked straight up, gone in a flash. Talk about creepy. Confused, the foreman wondered if another cave-in was happening. Right then, a glowing figure materialized, demanding to know who dared invade Yangshen Palace. Hiding behind a massive boulder, Ye Beichen immediately recognized the ancient entity as a 1,000-year-old soul. Lin Kun smiled nervously, wondering if his mind was playing tricks on him. The workers panicked. They ran, screaming there is a ghost. Right after, two terrifying spirits emerged from a passage, roaring at that all intruders must die. They lunged forward, viciously slashing at the workers. Desperate, the foreman begged Lin Kun to save them. Without hesitation, he leaped forward with a flurry of flying daggers. Smirking with absolute confidence, he let the blades fly. Both targets were struck, making the foreman cheer. They were safe now. One of the creatures glared, asking if he was a practitioner. Lin Kun stepped forward, claiming the spirit knew the treasure's location, and he would force it to talk. In response, the entity called him an ignorant child, instantly summoning a glowing dragon right on its arm. It ordered the beast to kill him quickly. The dragon fired a blast of energy that hit Lin Kun squarely, throwing him violently backward. With a sharp sword in hand, the ancient spirit stepped forward, declaring to everyone that this place belonged to the Venerable One, and all invaders would die. Screaming in panic, Lin Kun grabbed a nearby worker to save himself. Immediately after, he shoved Ye Beichen right in front of him as a human shield. Begging the ghost to take him instead, the creature charged forward, howling for the intruder to die as it swung its heavy sword. The blade hit Yi. Seeing that the spirit still possesses massive power, Lin Kun immediately turns tail. He flees with a smirk, utterly thrilled to have found his scapegoat. The very spot where Ye Beichen was struck instantly explodes into a thick dust cloud. Lin Kun turns back, wondering why on earth the kid is still standing. But the young man is indeed standing there, completely unharmed by the blast. Suddenly, Ye Beichen appears behind the spirit, asking if it enjoyed that attack. Instantly, a massive formation lights up on the ground, summoning razor-sharp swords. Declaring that he is no easy target, the swords completely impale his foe. The spirit shatters, dissolving into a violent and blinding explosion of raw energy. Lin Kun watches the entire scene, utterly stunned by this incredible power. The other spirits howl in pure rage, swearing revenge for their elder brother. One of them launches a deadly, snake-shaped energy attack to end his life. But the young man simply triggers a mysterious artifact right in his palm. He shatters the soul imprisonment seal, summoning massive glowing chains. The spiritual chains wrap tightly around the thrashing energy snakes. Recognizing the legendary soul capturing Lantern, the remaining spirits panic instantly. One screams for the others to run, but the chains bind them all. Just like that, they are trapped. The foreman watches in pure disbelief. He wonders if this young boy is actually some kind of elite warrior. Ye Beichen examines the lantern, admitting he barely noticed its power before. Lin Kun walks over, praising his skill and offering some personal training. The young man politely thanks Master Lin for this unexpected opportunity. Meanwhile, the workers gather to praise Master Lin's incredible eye for talent. Ye Beichen just rolls his eyes, quietly calling them a bunch of flatterers. Lin Kunya tells them to stop the useless praise and continue exploring. The crew presses deep into the main hall, finding a weakened spirit crawling. Lin Kunya pins it down under his boot and tells everyone to loot. He grabs the spirit by its head, noting its surprisingly high strength. He demands its true identity and the location of the treasure pavilion. Standing close by, Ye Beichen immediately catches the mention of the pavilion. But the stubborn spirit sneers, refusing to give him a single word. Annoyed, Lin Kunya warns the creature that it is begging for death. The spirit suddenly self-destructs, determined to take the master down with it. Lin Kunya is knocked back, screaming a warning for everyone to get down. That was no joke, another massive blast erupts, throwing him back. The panicked workers rush over, and the foreman helps him up, asking if he is hurt. Lin Kunya angrily shoves him away, snapping that nothing can hurt him. As the heavy dust settles, a worker shouts out, pointing at a discovery. Both Lin Kunya and Ye Beichen quickly turn their eyes toward the wall. The massive blast has blown open a completely hidden passageway in the cave. Ye Beichen notes a powerful wave of spiritual energy surging from inside. Greedy for more, Lin Kunya orders everyone to drop their loot and follow. The foreman barks at the hesitant crew, threatening them to move or die. Terrified of dying, the workers quickly fall in line and start moving forward. Ye Beichen leads the way as they step into the vast, mysterious cavern. Ye Beichen claims these crystals are a spiritual mine, two nearby workers wonder what that even means, but neither has any clue. Watching them, Lin Kunya smacks his foreman's head, telling him to investigate. The nervous foreman asks if it's safe in there. This only annoys his boss. Lin Kunya snaps at him to shut up, kicking him inside. The foreman crawls. On his knees, carefully scanning the cave. Ahead, the dark space stretches out. With glowing stones scattered across the ground, shakingly, he stands up and yells back to Lin Kunya that everything seems fine, but right then, a massive leopard looms right behind him. It lunges instantly, sinking its teeth right into his neck. Pure chaos erupts as the remaining workers scream and scatter like crazy. The beast turns to face the runners, letting out a deafening roar. In a flash, it pounces on another victim, opening its jaw to charge a glowing energy sphere. It fires the deadly blast straight at the escaping crowd. The projectile explodes, engulfing them in a massive blast. Lin Kunya stares in disbelief, shocked that spiritual beasts are guarding this mine. The monster locks eyes with him, warning that all human intruders must die. But Lin Kunya refuses to back down, drawing his daggers to strike. Yet the swift beast effortlessly blocks every single blade with its claws. He's stunned, unable to comprehend this power. Next, the beast slashes his arm with a brutal swipe. He clutches the bleeding wound as the predator looms over him. In desperation, he begs the disguised Yi for help. Pulling off his helmet, the young man asks if he recognizes him. Stunned, Lin Kunya stammers, asking how on earth he's here. Ye Beichen coldly reminds him that escape was never an option. Terrified, Lin Kunya spins around and starts running for his absolute life. As he glances back in sheer panic, a flying sword comes out of nowhere. Piercing his chest from behind, he falls dead instantly. The leopard watches, completely baffled. Ye Beichen calmly steps closer to the stunned creature. He praises its rare talent for becoming a sentient beast, yet the beast growls back that flattery won't stop it from killing all intruders. In fact, since his spiritual energy is so pure, it might leave his corpse intact. Ye Beichen merely chuckles, calling it nothing but a foolish, savage animal. He proposes a mutual deal instead of a pointless, bloody fight to the death. Since they both want something here, the leopard warily asks for details. Ye Beichen offers to give it all the spiritual energy it craves. In exchange, he wants his prize, but the leopard merely scoffs. How dare a mere human think they're worthy of bargaining? snarls, it lunges forward. To rip him apart, Ye Beichen readies himself, accepting the challenge. If they can't agree, then force it is. Suddenly, the beast halts. It recoils in shock from the overwhelming pressure radiating from him. Realizing it's completely outmatched, the leopard quickly backs down and apologizes. Smiling, Ye Beichen asks if they can talk like civilized beings now. Terrified, the beast agrees to anything to survive, so he asks his question. Is there a hidden treasure pavilion located anywhere around these parts? Confused, the creature asks what that is, warning him not to play games. Trick him, but with a cold blade pressed hard against its neck, it quickly admits the place actually exists, pointing a trembling paw to show where it should be. Ye Beichen leaps over, demanding to know if this is a lie. Warning the beast to watch its step, instead, he just finds a tiny pile of bricks. Annoyed, he asks if this is supposed to be the legendary Wanbao Tower. The beast explains these spiritual bricks were made for building it. Ye Beichen snaps back that he needs the actual tower, not just loose bricks. The leopard admits it has no clue where the building went, snarling that it would have eaten him already if he did not look so weak. Not wanting to leave empty-handed, Ye Beichen tightly grips his jade pendant. He begins draining all the pure spiritual energy from the entire area. The creature watches in pure horror as the massive energy reserves completely vanish. Next, Ye Beichen decides to pocket all the nearby gold and silver too. Desperate to survive, the leopard begs the young master to take it along. Ye Beichen agrees, joking that the Lion King might enjoy some company. Outside the ruins, Master Yi wonders why Lin Kunyi is taking so long. Suddenly, he senses someone nearby and demands to know who is hiding. Ye Beichen immediately appears kneeling before him, claiming to be just a helper. When Master Yi demands his name, the boy says he is a temporary worker. Master Yi then asks where the rest of the crew went. Ye Beichen coldly states they are all dead, killed by sudden monster attacks. He tries to walk away, but Master Yi is not buying this story. The master's hand mutates into a sharp claw as he lunges forward to attack. He roars that the boy is far too young to lie to his face. In that tense moment, Ye Beichen realizes he has stepped into a trap. Although his main goal is finding the Wanbao Tower, he pretends to beg for mercy. He claims that after finding gold, Boss Lin died fighting monsters. Master Yi demands to know what actual treasures were inside the tower. Ye Beichen innocently replies that he only remembers seeing some old bricks. The master is deeply confused by the mention of mere bricks. Seizing the chance, Ye Beichen asks why the Wanbao Tower is so important anyway. Master Yi laughs, saying since the boy is about to die, he might as well tell him. He explains they found ancient ruins belonging to the legendary Qingyan sect. Those ruins contained records of a tower packed with ultimate cultivation techniques. Ye Beichen suddenly stands right up, asking if there are any other clues. Furious, the old master demands to know how he dares stand before him. The young man smiles, saying he wanted clues, but only got useless garbage. Now Master Yi is absolutely livid, realizing he has been mocked yet again. He promises a painful death, but Ye Beichen suddenly summons his glowing sword. The blade clashes heavily with Master Yi's sharp claw in a burst of sparks. The young hero asks if the old man really thought he stood a chance. With a massive surge of spiritual energy, he blasts Master Yi straight backward. Crashing hard onto the dirt, the trembling master asks who he really is. Pointing the blade at his neck, Ye Beichen offers to spare him if he bows down. Master Yi gasps in horror, stammering that it is impossible because that sect disappeared a long time ago. Ye Beichen proposes a deal, making it clear he doesn't owe any explanations, but he will let him live if he investigates the tower. Realizing he has no choice, the old man agrees, and Ye Beichen simply orders him to open up. A second later, he tosses something straight into Master Yi's mouth. The master clutches his throat, asking in a panic what he was forced to swallow. Ye Beichen calmly explains it is a poison that triggers every 10 days, warning him to search the tower without making any suspicious moves. Later on, Ye Beichen reflects on how dangerous the night was, having drained a lot of spiritual energy. Still, it is not a total loss, but suddenly his stomach starts aching badly again. Recognizing the urgency, he decides he must quickly find a private spot. Soon, he is squatting among the forest trees, but as he turns, he finds Zhang Xiaohu on the ground, covering her eyes with her hands. Screaming pervert again, she throws a massive punch, sending him flying far away. Angrily, Zhang Xiaohu scolds Ye Beichen for spying on her, but he quickly protests that it was just a misunderstanding. He then asks Jiang how she even tracked him down. She snaps back that if she had not been worried he might die, she would have never gone around asking for him. Ye Beichen smiles, apologizing and promising to treat her to food, drinks, and anything else she wants. The young woman remains skeptical, questioning how much money he could possibly have. In response, he reveals a mountain of treasures and asks if this is enough. Ye Beichen generously invites her to pick any items she likes, and she asks if he is actually serious. Smiling, he tells her he has no intention of holding back. Surprisingly, she just points to a medical kit, wanting to keep the items on the left. Instead, he hands over a box full of jewelry and other rich treasures. Ye Beichen mentions he has even more valuables to sell, inviting her to tag along, but she gets suspicious, asking if he stole them. Without answering, he grabs her hand and urges her not to ask so many questions, just follow him. Arriving at an antique shop, he places two valuable pieces on the counter and asks the owner how much they are worth. The shopkeeper begins examining the items, while Miss Zhang quietly notes that antiques are incredibly valuable nowadays. The shopkeeper inspects the piece with a magnifying glass, finding it quite unique. Classic greedy shopkeeper move right here. He decides to offer a lower price. Pretending to sigh, he calls it a pity, making Ye Beichen ask what is wrong. The man claims the piece is well preserved, but lacks historical age, meaning it is not worth much. Hearing this, Ye Beichen decides to try another shop, immediately snatching his piece back. Realizing he might lose it, the shopkeeper begs him to wait a moment. Just as the duo turns to leave, smirking, Ye Beichen looks back, asking if he plans to force a sale. The owner quickly backpedals, admitting he was only trying to haggle. Seeing his chance, Ye Beichen tells him to name a real price. The man offers 5 million. Instantly, Ye Beichen counters, correcting the price to 50 million. Shaken, the shopkeeper gasps, but Ye Beichen simply turns to leave. Panicking, the merchant stops him, agreeing to the massive sum before handing over a check for 50 million, declaring that business is simple. He pays, he gets the treasure. Zhang Xiaohu stares blankly at the massive check, completely stunned by the unreal fortune. Grinning, Ye Beichen invites her to celebrate somewhere fun, and as they leave, the shopkeeper immediately calls his boss with some major news. He claims he found a total jackpot. Meanwhile, inside the car, the woman asks who he actually is, wondering if he is a wealthy heir. He jokes that in a way she could say that. Suddenly, a sports car flies down the road. The driver screams at everyone to move, claiming he is late for a party. He violently whips the wheel, making an incredibly reckless move in traffic. The sports car cuts off a taxi. Ye Beichen pulls the woman close to protect her, yelling at her to watch out, just as the taxi slams hard right into the back of the sports car. The furious driver storms out, complaining about his new ride. He marches straight up to the taxi driver and grabs him, screaming about why he did not get out of the way. The driver explains the line was solid, but the man just slaps him. He demands payment, but the driver insists he has absolutely no money. This rich jerk lunges forward to punch him, telling him to drop dead. But right then, a hand catches his wrist, stopping the punch completely. Ye Beichen confronts him, pointing out that he was the one driving like crazy. He adds that he can keep dreaming about getting paid. Furious, the jerk swings At Ye Beichen, his punch slices harmlessly through the air, hitting absolutely nothing. Thoroughly confused, he spins around, wondering where his opponent could have gone. Right then, Ye Beichen quietly slips behind him and lands a massive punch to his jaw. The guy crashes hard, whining that not even his own parents have hit him. Blinded by rage, he pulls a sharp knife and charges, screaming that this is unforgivable. But with zero hesitation, Ye Beichen easily blocks the blade. The attacker stares in absolute shock, utterly stunned that he could not wound him. Suddenly, a lethal arrow tears through the air toward the two men. Highly alert, Ye Beichen spots the deadly projectile instantly. He swiftly shoves the man aside, but the arrow sinks deep into his back. The body falls heavily as the taxi driver and the woman watch in horror. Shocked by the sudden turn, Ye Beichen tells them to stay put and bolts. After the shooter, he sprints in the direction from which the arrow flew. Up in a nearby building, a masked sniper hides immediately after firing. Ye Beichen scans the entire roof, but there is absolutely no sign of him. He wonders if the culprit has already managed to escape. Soon, the terrified young woman runs over, frantically asking if he is mixed up with some dangerous mafia. She grabs his hand, insisting they have to find a safe hiding spot immediately. She quickly guides him down a quiet hallway until they reach a door. Once inside, she explains this is her university dorm and tells him to hide. Here, Ye Beichen asks if Miss Jiang is actually worried about him, but she says she is only returning the favor since he saved her life earlier. She assures him he is safe now, pointing to the bed and telling him to sleep. A bit confused, Ye Beichen asks where he is supposed to sleep. She bluntly replies that it will obviously be on the floor, throwing a blanket down. As the night deepens under a beautiful starry sky, both of them lie awake. The young woman quietly mentions she cannot drift off, when he agrees with her. She asks if he has been lying to her this entire time. In response, he asks why she's curious, and she explains that after everything that happened, no normal person would act this way. Finally, Ye Beichen admits he keeps a few secrets. Jiang Xiaohua replies that everyone has their own secrets, including her. Then she asks if he knows why she came to this school. He assumes she just wanted to study. Sincerely, she reveals her family was pressuring her to marry someone she didn't love. So she ran away here. Intrigued by her story, Ye Beichen shows genuine interest and asks to hear more. The next morning, they are still asleep when a sudden noise wakes them. Ye Beichen gets up, asking who is there. Suddenly, loud bangs shake the door as someone yells for Xiaohua, demanding she open up. She approaches in shock, wondering how that man found her. Outside, a young man holding a bouquet of flowers yells that he finally found her. She calls him Jiang Bing, insisting they are not meant to be together. He persists, claiming her parents already approved this marriage and they are a perfect match. Annoyed, Jiang Xiaohua throws the flowers to the ground, declaring she already has a boyfriend. He refuses to believe it, saying she cannot trick him. At that moment, Ye Beichen sneaks up from behind, wrapping her in an embrace while asking what is going on. Xiaohua freezes in utter disbelief. Hearing him call her dear, Ye Beichen then introduces himself as Xiaohua's boyfriend. The newcomer sneers, asking how someone like him could date her, but Ye Beichen suddenly drops to one knee. Calmly, he opens a small box and proposes right there. Jiang Xiaohua watches in shock, stunned by his willingness to help. Jiang Bing stands frozen, staring at the massive ruby shining in the ring. With a smug smile, Jiang Xiaohua agrees to marry him. Furious, Jiang Bing questions her choice, claiming he has something even better than that gem. Right after, he proudly shows off a diamond ring, swearing it is worth over 10 million, challenged to show. Hold on, watch him casually toss a whole handful of rare jewels on the ground. Confronted with the sparkling pile, Jiang Bing stares in shock while Ye Beichen asks if this is enough. Left with no choice, the young man admits he has met his match. Defeated, he points at his rival, vowing he won this time. Before exiting, Ye Beichen bids him farewell, hoping they never cross paths ever again. Jiang Xiaohua turns around and sincerely thanks him for his help. Casually, he shrugs it off as a simple favor. Meanwhile, outside, Jiang Bing fumes, absolutely livid at being humiliated and beaten by a mere student. Suddenly, a mysterious figure creeps up silently right behind him. Startled, he spins around, demanding to know who it is. Silently, the unknown figure readies an attack with their fingers, firing 2 fast projectiles at his head and back. Walking together, Jiang Xiaohua thanks Ye Beichen again, then invites him out to eat, which he happily accepts. Suddenly, his phone starts buzzing in his pocket. Politely, he asks her to wait while he answers. On the call, senior sister Chu tells him about an upcoming group test and asks him to head to room 601. Hanging up, he tells Jiang Xiaohua about his exam, and she suggests they grab dinner together later that evening. In the classroom, the evaluator announces the test is starting and asks for Ye Beichen. A classmate scoffs, muttering that with a name like that, the guy must be a total loser. Another defends him, pointing out he was handpicked by the professor, but the hater just scoffs. He retorts that being handpicked is no reason to boast. Right then, Ye Beichen arrives. He stands at the door, introducing himself to the professor and joining the group exam. The instructor turns to confirm his identity. Meanwhile, a seated student calls him over. He tells the new guy to grab his test paper, assuming the test is basically over. Only one filled-out sheet remains on the table. Ye Beichen calmly picks it up. He hands the paper to the rude student, saying he found one ready for him. The student snaps back, telling him to just sit down and use the pens provided on the desks. He cannot resist throwing one last insult, calling him a useless waste of a spot. Minutes tick away quickly on the classroom clock. Before anyone knows it, Ye Beichen stands. With his sheet in hand, he calmly announces to the professor that he is already finished. Wait already, the professor and the student spin around in absolute disbelief. He drops the paper on the desk, explaining he has another meeting to attend. With a quick goodbye, he steps out, leaving everyone staring in utter confusion. The arrogant classmates scoffed, assuming the kid just gave up and turned in a blank sheet. Suddenly, the professor walks over, asking if anyone saw his special exam paper. He explains it was an incredibly tough classical Chinese test meant only for top experts. The student claims he did not see it anywhere. Then, the professor spots the table. He notices a paper sitting right there and wonders if that is his missing exam. The arrogant kid speaks up, saying that is actually the paper Ye Beichen just submitted. Curious, the professor picks it up. It is indeed the legendary, impossible exam paper. Every single difficult section has been completely filled out. The student groans, thinking the useless failure must have ruined the entire document. But as the professor grades it, his eyes widen. Every answer is perfectly correct. Unbelievable, right? The smug classmate stands there frozen, his jaw on the floor. He finally realizes that Ye Beichen is not a loser, but a literal genius. Far from the school, Ye Beichen strolls happily, glad he finished early to grab dinner. He is excited to meet Miss Jiang, but a suited man blocks his path ahead. The stranger tightly grips a sharp dagger, waiting in ambush. Ye Beichen dodges the blade. He leaps back, creating some much-needed distance between himself and the suited attacker. Looking closely, he recognizes the assassin, asking if they are really doing this again. With no reply, the attacker charges, screaming for him to die. Moving like lightning, Ye Beichen easily sidesteps another lethal swipe of the blade. But as he defends, he senses something incredibly off about the assassin's clumsy movements. Blocking the blows, he realizes the man's dark aura feels completely different now. With a powerful counter, the suited man is sent crashing hard against a brick wall. Staring at the limp body, he wonders if the guy is dead, but he struggles up. He rushes forward once more. Suddenly, a sword materializes and a hand grasps it. In a flash, Ye Beichen grabs the hilt and impales his foe. But shockingly, the dying assassin sinks his teeth deep into our hero's arm. Reacting instantly to the painful bite, he delivers a brutal kick, shattering his opponent's guard. Looking down at the silent body, he notices the man is somehow still twitching. It should be a corpse, but it keeps moving, controlled by a mysterious hidden woman. They completely underestimated him, calling him a mere cultivator. Ye Beichen focused his gaze to analyze the situation, quickly realizing his opponent was being manipulated. The smug woman smiled, claiming she had finally found him. As the puppet struggled in Ye Beichen's arms, he released a sudden pulse of energy, instantly shattering the control. Shocked, the woman watched her puppet spell fail completely. Determined, she drew two sharp daggers to fight. Herself, Ye Beichen leaped straight at her, shouting that he finally found her. His heavy sword clashed against her twin daggers. When he touched down, he cracked the concrete beneath his feet. The assassin wondered how he was this strong. Blade right at her neck, Ye Beichen stared, demanding answers. Losing his patience, Ye Beichen cut her with his weapon, calling her stubbornness foolish. Before launching the final blow, he remarked that countless others had already failed to kill him, wishing her better luck in her next life. Meanwhile, at an antique shop, the failed mission was reported. A subordinate told the boss their assassin had failed the job. Livid, the boss screamed at his shopkeeper, calling them useless good-for-nothings. The old man bowed and apologized, admitting he's failed to investigate properly, never expecting the target to be a martial artist. The boss snapped, demanding to know his true identity. The nervous shopkeeper handed over a clean photograph showing Ye Beichen standing right next to the young woman with him. Recognizing the face, the boss gasped, prompting the shopkeeper to ask if he recognized him. The boss revealed this kid was the target the Juki Bureau had desperately hunted for years. Stunned, the shopkeeper asked if this was the thief who stole their key. The boss nodded, adding that the organization had sent multiple elite squads, all completely wiped out. He strictly ordered that the kid's location remain top secret, as this was their perfect chance to gain merit. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen and Zhang Xiaohua enjoyed a lavish banquet where she's happily insisted the treat was on her. Suddenly, several men in dark suits stepped up, demanding the young lady come with them immediately. Ye Beichen pointed an angry finger, demanding they state their business and release Miss Jiang. Zhang Xiaohua quickly calmed him down, explaining these men were just her family's private bodyguards. Suddenly, a stern older man walked in, ordering Xiaohua home, demandingly asking what massive trouble she had caused. Shocked, she turned, calling him father, asking why he was there, but he only questioned if she even still respected him. Utterly confused, the young woman insisted on knowing what was wrong. Her father grimly asked if Jiang Bing had come looking for her, which she quietly confirmed. He then dropped the news that Jiang Bing was dead, leaving her utterly speechless. He explained that the other family blamed them, launching a massive attack on their business. Grabbing her arm tightly, as he insisted that they must go apologize immediately, but she fiercely resisted, crying out that she had done absolutely nothing wrong. At that moment, Ye Beichen stepped forward, calmly confessing he was the actual killer and that he would take full responsibility for the entire mess. Her shocked father asked if this was true, while Xiaohua desperately begged Ye Beichen to stop talking crazy. Calmly, he assured her they had nothing not to worry, since he can handle everything. The older man warns him the Jiang family is hiring assassins to hunt down the killer, meaning he is practically dead. Completely unfazed, Ye Beichen turns, saying a real man owns his actions, and adds that fate is not set in stone yet. Then her father asks who this kid is, and Xiaohua replies he is just a student from her school, making her dad question the boy's absolute audacity. The scene shifts to the massive Jiang group headquarters, where a massive crowd has gathered. Two women whisper that Zhang's son was murdered, and this fancy banquet is really a cover too. Hire deadly assassins. Right on cue, Ye Beichen arrives at the venue and heads straight for the entrance. The two women walk up, asking if he came for the Jiang family's party, and he just nods. One of them mentions she heard the place is crawling with killers, asking if he is one too. Getting nothing but a quiet smile, then she asks if, as a mercenary, he knows who took down Jiang Bing, wondering if the guy is actually handsome. She adds that the Jiang family has caused nothing but misery in this city, so many people salute the hero who finally ended Jiang Bing. Hearing this, Ye Beichen gets the picture and asks if the Jiang family is really that hated. Right then, a squad of heavy security guards forces open a path. Shouting for the arrival of President Jiang, the big boss appears, thanking the crowd for attending this special reward banquet, skipping any small talk. He announces they are here to recruit underground black market killers. Telling anyone interested to step right up, one tough guy steps forward, asking if the rumored reward is really $30 million, but President Jiang corrects him instantly, declaring the bounty is actually 50 million paid out the second the target is dead, smiling with pure greed. The mercenary leader says no one will hold back for that much cash. He turns to his squad, ordering them to hunt down the killer within 3 days, but before they can even move, a voice rings out telling them there is no need to search because the killer is standing right here. Everyone turns. Talk about a plot twist. The women next to Ye Beichen can't believe he is actually the target. Hearing the confession, President Jiang rages at the mercenaries, screaming for them to slaughter him if they want that money. Without a second thought, the mercenary leader charges, dual-wielding sharp daggers ready to strike. Ye Beichen just stands there, completely still, as the blade comes down on him. The killer is shocked to see his lethal strike miss entirely. With one swift kick, Ye Beichen blows him back, asking if he actually thought he stood a chance. Instantly, two more thugs leap in, calling him a dead man. As they dive for the kill, he calmly tracks them, falling from the sky. Then in one flash, he catches both steel blades with his bare fingers. The attackers freeze in absolute disbelief, seeing their weapons stopped by sheer grip. Totally unimpressed, Ye Beichen sighs that their power is absolutely pathetic. Snapping the metal, he reaches out, telling them to go reincarnate and train harder next life. Furious, the leader slams his fist down, swearing he will still tear him apart before the day ends. He raises his hands, unleashing a massive shockwave that shatters the concrete. Jagged shards of rock fly. The terrified crowd starts screaming for help. Right in the center of the hall, a massive explosion of debris erupts. Wearing a satisfied smile, President Jiang asks if they finally got him. Through the thick, rising dust, the head assassin emerges, asking if that is all they have. Standing amid the rubble, Ye Beichen floats in midair. The guests look up in absolute shock, wondering if this is some kind of supernatural magic. Staring at the floating teen, President Jiang realizes this kid is also a powerful martial cultivator. He instantly snaps that death is coming for anyone who dares attack him from behind. Suddenly, the scattered debris starts to float, flying straight toward his target. The leader of the assassins gets hit directly and slams hard into the ground. Annoyed, the boss grumbles that these mercenaries are completely useless. Meanwhile, the two women watch the whole thing, totally awed by the young man's power and his handsome face. Ye Beichen slowly walks toward Zhang Sheng, who backs away in sheer terror, begging him not to come closer. Grabbing him without hesitation, the young man admits to murdering his son and demands that he stop targeting the Zhang family. Immediately, shocked, Zhang Sheng spits back how he dares make demands when he is cornered like this, but Ye Beichen cuts him off with a brutal slap, telling him to shut up. He then gives a final warning to leave the Zhang family alone or face death. Zhang Sheng just stares in silence, too terrified to speak. Next, we cut to the Zhang family home. Sitting in his private office, Xiaohua's father reviews some business papers, looking completely stressed. he mutters that the rival Zhangs forcibly bought up all their businesses, leaving them with absolutely no options. Suddenly, his daughter walks in and tries to comfort him, insisting that the mighty enemies cannot control everything. Still, her father blames her for running away from that arranged marriage and warns her to stay away from that sketchy young guy. Xiaohua stands up for him, arguing that Ye Beichen actually saved her life. But her father snorts, calling him nothing but a penniless kid. Suddenly, the office phone on his desk rings. Picking it up, his secretary informs him that the enemies canceled all takeover plans, meaning their business can finally go back to normal. Stunned by the news, the father listens as his assistant explains that Ye Beichen personally crashed the banquet and handled everything. Hanging up the phone, Xiaohua's father is left entirely dumbfounded. Can you even blame him? He mutters, wondering who this kid really is. Xiaohua asks what happened. Smiling faintly, her dad reveals that her mysterious friend actually took down their enemies, shocking her completely. He then praises the boy's incredible power and tells her to invite him over so he can thank him in person. She happily agrees to call him right away. Walking down the quiet street, Yi realizes that massive enemy clan was not nearly as tough as he first thought. Suddenly, his phone begins vibrating inside his coat pocket, and he pulls it out to check the screen. Answering the call, he hears Zhang Xiaohua thanking him warmly and inviting him over. Curious, he asks for her address, and she tells him Faiyuan Estate. A few minutes later, he waves down a yellow cab. Cruising down the road, sliding into the back seat, he gives his destination, Faiyuan Estate. The driver smiles back and tells him to buckle up. Suddenly, the car speeds up as the driver locks the doors. Yi immediately asks if this is not way too fast. With a grin, the driver replies this is nothing yet. He leaps out, telling the passenger to enjoy the ride. Immediately after, the taxi explodes into a massive cloud. The driver lands safely, boasting about how easy the job was. Alan praises his work, but the driver remains pretty cautious. Since the target is a martial artist, he is likely alive. The boss orders them to bring him back for interrogation. Without hesitation, the driver turns to finish the job. He walks straight back to the smoking vehicle. But wait, a hand suddenly punches through the asphalt. He climbs out of the hole, calling him a sneaky rat. He is furious. With one massive punch, he strikes the driver. The force of the blow sends the man flying high. Alan realizes they completely underestimated this young kid's strength. He turns around and instantly recognizes the older man. He asks if he really came here just to rob him. But Alan interrupts, saying he does not care about trash. He demands that Yi hand over the key immediately. Yi just stares, having absolutely no idea what key. Then Alan draws a blade, threatening him with a countdown. He gives him exactly 10 seconds to hand it over. He warns him that if they touch him, nobody leaves alive. Annoyed by his stubbornness, Alan lunges with the blade. But the strike is stopped by an invisible shield. Alan is shocked as Ye Beichen dodges the strike. With a precise kick, he sends Alan flying backward. The weapon slips from his hands as he crashes down. The older master watches the scene, completely stunned. He demands to know about the key, but it is a big secret. Getting impatient, he points at him and calls him useless. He declares it is time to die, flicking his finger with power. The strike hits the master's head, finishing the old man instantly. Looking at his ring, Yi decides to investigate this mess. With a simple gesture, he sends a message through air. Far away, a white-haired master meditates in deep silence. The command orders him to find everything on the Bureau of Rarities. Back at the Zhang house, the father worries if Yi will come. Xiaohua reassures him just as the young man finally arrives. He apologizes for the delay, and the host welcomes him warmly. Shaking his hand, he thanks him for saving the family. He invites everyone inside, where a grand banquet is ready. Sitting at the table, Ziohua's father reiterates his gratitude. Without his help, the entire family would have been ruined. The host raises his glass to propose a toast. Ye Beichen accepts, stating it is his duty to fix the mess, absolute responsibility. He then drains his glass in a single gulp. The host urges his daughter to drink up, since their guest already finished his, but the butler quietly steps in, warning him that the young lady cannot handle her alcohol well at all. Talk about a scheming father. He whispers that if they do not get drunk, nothing will ever happen between the two. He absolutely needs them to drink. Since finding a perfect son-in-law like this is rare, dinner rolls on. Ye Beichen and Zhang Ziohua keep toasting, pushing each other to keep going. Watching them, the father tells the butler to take them to a room, then he snaps, asking if the servant is completely stupid. Pointing out they need to go to his daughter's bedroom, the butler quickly orders a maid to lead both Zhang Ziohua and Ye Beichen to the exact same room. The maid settles them on the bed, saying it is bedtime. Drowsy, Ye Beichen asks why he is being called young master. The maid only smiles and closes the door behind her. Zhang Ziohua snuggles close to him while sleeping. She murmurs, asking what that hard object is. He holds her tight, telling her not to move and just sleep. Morning comes. Zhang Ziohua slowly blinks her eyes open and rolls over. She finds Ye Beichen sleeping peacefully right next to her. Suddenly, she sits straight up in bed and covers her face. The sudden movement wakes him up, and he asks what is wrong. Instead of answering, she slaps him across the face and calls him a total pervert. Ye Beichen demands to know what is going on and why he is here. She demands to know if he did anything to her last night. He denies it instantly, swearing he did nothing. Still, she points at his underwear, demanding to know why his pants are off. He does not argue, turning to grab his clothes. This is just a huge misunderstanding. He quickly grabs his gear and rushes out, telling her to go back to sleep. Outside, two men watch him run, the older one muttering that the deed is done. Far down the street, Ye Beichen scratches his head, racking his brain about last night. Suddenly, Dr. Zhu appears to greet him. Turning around, Ye Beichen hears that there is fresh news about the Wanbao Tower. Curious, he asks for details. Dr. Zhu reveals they found a building built with those exact same mysterious bricks, and Ye Beichen demands to go there immediately. Short while later, they stand before a massive commercial building. Dr. Zhu confirms this is it, explaining his men found those bricks hidden deep inside. Ready for answers, Ye Beichen decides to check it out himself and both head for the entrance, but as he tries to step through the door, he slams hard into an invisible barrier. Confused, he asks what is going on, and Dr. Zhu explains that entry requires special permission. Just then, a man in a suit approaches and swipes an access card. The barrier parts wide open. Finding this high-tech magic trick pretty interesting, Ye Beichen steps inside. Soon, they track down a room where three men sit in a tight circle. One of them brags that the treasure's insane power will easily level him up, just as Ye Beichen demands to know where they are. Dr. Zhu points out that the bricks came from this very spot, and those men are also cultivators. Ye Beichen silently peeks through the door, wondering if this structure hides the tower. Suddenly, one of the men yells out, demanding to know who is hiding there. Ye Beichen tells Dr. Zhu they have been spotted and warns him to stay calm. There is no point in hiding anymore, so he calmly steps out from the shadows. Walking straight toward the hostile group, he faces their sharp questions about his identity. Instead of answering, Ye Beichen directly demands to know the location of the Wanbao Tower. The shocked cultivators wonder how he knows about the secret tower as one summons his energy. A sword begins to levitate in the air, ready to strike down the intruder. Seeing this, Ye Beichen decides this is the perfect chance to test his new technique. Anyone holding secrets about the tower cannot be left alive. The other guards laugh, confident that a single slash will easily end him. But instead of running, Ye Beichen calmly offers them a simple deal. Give up information about the tower, and he might just spare their lives. The enemies mock his extreme arrogance, completely doubting his skills. Still, the main swordsman lunges forward, raising his blade for a lethal strike. And just like that, Ye Beichen blocks the deadly sharp edge with his bare forearm. The heavy shockwave forces both fighters back, leaving the onlookers completely stunned. They instantly realize that this kid is no ordinary human, but a cultivator. The annoyed swordsman growls that blocking one hit will not save him now. He prepares an even deadlier attack, telling him not to beg for mercy. A massive, raging tiger made of pure energy leaps directly toward Ye Beichen. With absolute calm, Ye Beichen summons his own sword to meet the beast. A single, clean slash completely cuts the energy tiger in half, dispelling it. The watching companions gasp, unable to believe his move was shattered so easily. Ye Beichen tells his opponent that such weak attacks will never work on him. His cold blade stops just inches away from the trembling cultivator's throat. He tells the defeated man to speak up now if he wants to keep his head. Terrified, the man quickly nods and promises to tell him everything. But as he slowly backs away, he suddenly spins around for a cheap shot. He screams for Ye Beichen to go straight to hell as he strikes. Ye Beichen sighs at his stubbornness, wondering why he still tries to resist. The desperate swordsman yells for his brothers to join the fight right now. The other two rush forward with daggers drawn, thrusting them deep into his neck. They laugh, boasting that this powerful kid was actually incredibly weak. The group mocks his remains, declaring that this is what fools deserve. But get this, Ye Beichen's body suddenly starts dissolving into thin air. His entire figure turns into smoke, leaving the attackers completely baffled. They look around in panic, wondering if they just attacked a mere illusion. The real Ye Beichen appears behind them, telling them they only have themselves to blame. Since they broke their word, he is not holding back any longer. He slashes forward, his blade slamming directly into their magical defense shield. The protective barrier instantly shatters, blowing them backward with a massive blast. The surviving cultivator trembles, wondering what kind of insane power level this is. Ye Beichen walks toward them slowly, reminding them that they brought this on themselves. He strikes again with his blade. That is the price they pay. Their bodies instantly turn to smoke. The last survivor watches in horror. How did this happen? Terrified, he scrambles up and starts running. But Dr. Zhu cuts him off. Nobody leaves without his master's permission. Trapped between these two monsters, the guy is completely cornered. Ye Beichen drops him with a solid punch, no fleeing allowed. Face down on the dirt, the guy starts weeping and apologizing. While Ye Beichen asks where he failed, he begs for mercy. Ye Beichen demands answers. Tell me everything about the Wanbao Tower. Desperate to live, the survivor confirms it exists and begins his tale. Years back, the head of Longsing Group selected this exact site. During the build, workers uncovered a mysterious bronze door underground. Driven by curiosity, they opened it and explored a deep cave. Inside lay an altar holding a glowing, highly unusual spiritual gem. Its energy fueled secret cultivation, next to a stone naming the place. Cut to the present, and Ye Beichen demands the altar's location. The survivor tenses up, clearly too terrified to say a word. Suddenly, the guy's body convulses, coughing up thick blood instantly. While Dr. Zhu panics, Ye Beichen realizes they have been compromised. Someone was watching and silenced the poor guy before he spilled anything. Snatching the gem, he notes this situation is getting pretty messy. They must leave now. Meanwhile, a white-haired man sits in meditation. His eyes snap open, and he immediately summons a dark subordinate. A young woman quickly appears, and he coldly orders her to eliminate a target. She is curious and asks who is scheduled for a sudden dirt nap. And just like that, our main character is officially a marked man. With a swift nod, she vanishes into the shadows to hunt him. The next morning, a cheerful classmate greets Ye Beichen at school. He greets her back, but his mind is still heavily troubled. With modern society hiding so many secrets, things are getting pretty complicated. Sects like Banshinmen and Jukuju prove that ancient cultivation never really stopped. It is just wearing modern corporate masks now, and Jukuju is after him. They are desperately hunting a mysterious key, though he still has no clue why. Did he lose his own memories, and where is that key hidden? Back in the classroom, the teacher stands up to announce some news. A gorgeous new transfer student is joining their class today. He calls in Sun Duo, and she introduces herself to the room with a smile. Right on cue, all the guys start whispering and getting excited. Then the teacher points her directly to the desk behind Ye Beichen. She happily agrees and walks straight down the aisle to her new desk. You just know that creepy little smile means nothing but absolute trouble. Finally, the bell rings, and Ye Beichen stands up for a nice stretch. Just as he is about to leave, the new girl approaches him. She asks him out for lunch, leaving him pretty stunned by the invite. The other guys immediately start dying of jealousy over his insane luck. Without giving him any choice, she grabbed his hand and dragged him along. She insisted he stop being so shy. Once they finally sat down at a restaurant, he asked why she was being so nice, even offering to pay the bill. She claimed it was love at first sight, which only made him highly suspicious of her. Testing her sudden confession, he jokingly told her to fetch some chili. The moment his back was turned, the young woman quickly seized her perfect chance to act. She slipped a mysterious white powder into his soup just before he returned. Ye Beichen brought the hot chili back, and she smiled warmly while thanking him for it. Muttering that he was starving, he quickly polished off the entire hot plate. As they sat there, she stared at him, frantically wondering why the deadly poison hadn't worked. Finally, Ye Beichen leaned back and casually announced that he was already full. Before she could react, a classmate walked up to their table and called out to him. The guy explained there was a dorm meeting and they had been looking everywhere. Ye Beichen readily agreed, saying it was a great chance to catch up with his roommates. He asked his friend to guide him, and the guy happily agreed. The frustrated young woman tried to call him back, but he was already walking away. As he walked away, she clenched her hand until it actually bled. Ye Beichen quietly wondered what this dangerous assassin, who clearly wanted him dead, would do next. Back inside, she angrily questioned why her lethal poison had failed. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen arrived at the meeting spot with his friend. The classmate happily introduced him to the rest of the guys as their missing roommate. The guys welcomed him warmly, but suddenly the room door was kicked open. Every single student turned in absolute shock as a group of thugs marched inside. Their leader announced they reserved the hotel, ordering everyone to clear out. One roommate stood up to protest. Another roommate refused to budge, pointing out they got here first. He stood his ground, stating that throwing them out made zero sense. The leader snarled, asking if he wanted to die, talk about picking the wrong target. Without warning, the leader stepped forward and planted a brutal punch right on his jaw. The red-haired young man stood up, furious at the sudden assault. He demanded to know how they dared to lay a hand on him, charging forward. His opponent easily dodged the blow, mockingly calling him weak and slow. With a heavy blow to the back, he sent the poor student flying through the air. His friends caught him just in time, checking if he was still all right. Losing his remaining patience, the gang leader ordered his goons to make a brutal example. Just then, Ye Beichen stepped forward, refusing to let them simply walk away. The thugs laughed at his confidence, deciding to teach this arrogant kid a harsh lesson. His friend begged him to run, but Ye Beichen calmly stood his ground. He calmly demanded they pay for the medical expenses, which only made the leader laugh. The boss growled, ordering his thugs to eliminate the annoying kid right now. As the goons rushed him, Ye Beichen easily dodged the first punch without breaking sweat. He calmly told them they were far too slow for a real fight. With absolute ease, he grabbed the first thug and threw him hard over his shoulder. Without pausing, he did the exact same thing to the other two. He slammed another goon directly into the wall, leaving the gang leader in utter disbelief. His roommate whispers that this looks like a movie, wondering if he is a martial artist. Ye Beichen steps up to the leader, casually asking if he is ready to pay the medical expenses now. Instead of paying, the bruised gang leader scrambles to pull out his phone. He yells that he is from the powerful Banshan Gate and cannot be underestimated. Desperate, he calls his boss, whining that they are getting bullied right now. Ye Beichen just shrugs, telling him to go ahead and call his boss. Half an hour later, Dr. Zhu arrives, demanding to know who dared to touch his people. The beaten thug greets him with relief, glad that his savior has finally shown up. He points a shaking finger at Ye Beichen, accusing him of beating up his men. But Dr. Zhu instantly recognizes Ye Beichen, bowing low and calling him master. Ye Beichen smiles, asking if Dr. Zhu is really the boss of these thugs. Dr. Zhu drops to his knees, frantically apologizing for his brainless subordinates. The thug watches in total shock, confused why his boss is kneeling. His roommate is stunned to see he has such an influential subordinate. Dr. Zhu then calls the thug over and grabs his arm. Suddenly, he twists his arm, calling it the price for offending the master. The gang leader screams in pure agony, clutching his severely injured arm. Dr. Zhu barks at him to get lost, and the terrified thug scrambles away. Ye Beichen praises his decisive actions, and Dr. Zhu quickly thanks him. Dr. Zhu bows. Afterward, Ye Beichen asks if there is any news yet. Specifically, any word on Wanbao Tower, but Dr. Zhu admits they still have nothing. However, he does have some fresh intel regarding the mysterious Juki department. They are actively searching for a young man named Ye Beichen because of a key he holds. Ye Beichen chuckles at the massive coincidence, prompting Dr. Zhu to ask if he knows the target. Playing it cool, Ye Beichen claims it is just an old acquaintance of his. He then dismisses Dr. Zhu, wanting to get back to his roommates. His friend asks if he comes from some powerful family, but Ye Beichen just laughs. Laughing, he claims he is just a totally ordinary guy, raising his glass. Hours slip by, and the group finally says their goodbyes as the night winds down. They agree it is getting incredibly late, and everyone needs to head home for some rest. He bids them farewell, promising to catch up tomorrow before starting his walk home alone. Walking alone, he mutters that the wine was pretty strong, making his vision blurry. Just as he yawns, a classmate named Sun Duo suddenly lunges out with a sharp knife. Wait for it, a girl suddenly leaps from the shadows, brandishing a deadly dagger. Ye Beichen casually dodges, turning to ask if she is his quiet classmate, Sun Duo. She instantly acts shy, trying to look completely harmless to lower his guard. Ye Beichen asks what she is doing out here, since she is supposed to be at school. Realizing he might be vulnerable, the girl decides she must strike right now. She suddenly grabs his arm, whispering that she has a massive crush on him. Confused by her antics, he asks what she is doing, but Sun Duo gets closer. Striking a highly confident pose, she demands to know if he is absolutely sure. Instead of answering, Ye Beichen bluntly asks if she is actually a cross-dressing boy. His eyes drop, casually pointing out that she is incredibly flat in front. Furious, the assassin snaps and pulls her hidden blade, refusing to play nice anymore. Screaming in pure rage, she charges straight at him, determined to end his life. Before the blade can even graze him, Ye Beichen grabs her wrist. She completely lost control, showing her total lack of real experience. He notes that she worked incredibly hard just to sneak close to him. Instantly, he launches a counterattack. Sun Duo reacts quickly and deflects the strike with her twin daggers, but he still finds an opening. A brutal kick sends her crashing hard to the ground. He demands to know her real identity, but she only asks when. He first realized she was an intruder. Ye Beichen reveals it was when she slipped poison into his noodles. Shocked, the young woman asks if he knew. The truth right from the start. He admits he was just playing along. Then asks about her true intentions. He wants to know exactly who sent her, but she refuses to talk. Smirking, he asks if she is absolutely sure about that stubborn choice. Suddenly, Ye Beichen grabs her collar, warning her that his patience has officially run out. She screams for help while he leans in closer. Sobbing, she promises to tell him everything. The young man coldly warns her that she only gets one shot, and she confesses it was Meng Jiang, leader of Longsing group and a high elder of Juki Bureau. Ye Beichen quietly whispers the names of both organizations. Smiling, he remarks that in that case he is an old acquaintance. Sun Duo asks to leave, but he only agrees if she delivers a message, telling Meng Jiang to meet him tomorrow near the school. Baffled, the girl asks what he is doing, and he explains it is a challenge to settle scores with the Juki Bureau and the Longsing group. Shocked, she asks if he has gone mad. Then Ye Beichen vanishes, claiming he is fine and will see her tomorrow. An hour later, inside a city building, Sun Duo enters a room and calls for her boss. The master assassin asks if she has returned and how things went, but she apologizes, admitting she failed. Furious, he crumples the paper in his hands, demanding how she dares return. The girl explains she only came back because she was allowed to bring back a message. Her master demands to hear it, and she relays the challenge, saying he has been invited to a duel tomorrow near the school to settle everything once and for all. Surprised, the boss asks why he has such animosity, and Sun Duo explains that the boy wanted to settle accounts after being pursued by the Juki Bureau. Intrigued, he wonders what grievance this kid could possibly have against them, prompting him to pick up his phone. The master asks the Grand Elder if he knows anyone named Ye Beichen, while the other end asks if this is the same boy who took the key. Startled, the boss asks if that kid really took the key. With a smirk, the assassin master remarks that, after so much hunting, their target has finally delivered himself right to them. In the end, he proudly accepts the challenge, and Sun Duo nods in agreement. Meanwhile, Ye Beichen sits down to meditate silently. As he focuses, he knows tomorrow is going to be a massive battle, and he must prepare. Suddenly, a mysterious glowing book slowly floats out of his mouth. Figures begin to emerge from the pages, dissolving in a swirl around him. A glowing sword materializes. He comments that combining this blade with his thunder law can easily defeat a legendary monster. Sudden lightning, blinding bolts start tearing across the dark sky. Watching from his window, the assassin master wonders who is cultivating. This pressure is insane. It easily surpasses those ancient masters. He realizes the city is dangerous. Soon, the sun slowly rises. Morning comes. Several shadowy figures land softly on a rooftop. One guy asks if this is the agreed spot. Right then, the assassin master arrives with Sun Duo and confirms they are here. He tells Meng Jiang that capturing Ye Beichen will be huge. Meng Jiang smiles. He promises that the young man will die. But another ally speaks up, reminding them that the real goal is retrieving the key Ye Beichen has, and Meng Jiang agrees. No more talking. He simply orders everyone to move out immediately. The assassin master leaps down with Sun Duo, telling her to follow. One watcher grumbles that relying on Meng Jiang is too careless. Another scoffs that if Ye Beichen actually shows up, he is dead. Meng Jiang quickly orders his men to prepare a backup trap. Two guys leap down to do it. He checks his watch. Was it all just bluffing? Noon is coming and nobody has appeared. Soon, a subordinate returns to report that the trap is ready. Meng Jiang tells them to wait. Another thug walks up laughing. He asks where Ye Beichen is, guessing the kid got too scared. Meng Jiang sneers, a brat like that has zero courage to fight. It was all empty talk. Meanwhile, the master wonders if they were tricked, but Sun Duo insists that the open challenge was real. The master sighs. Maybe he overestimated the young punk after all. But look, Ye Beichen steps from a nearby alley, asking who they were talking about. Sun Duo spins around, shocked to see him. Rooftop watchers whisper, the boy really has no fear of death. He actually showed up. Ye Beichen asks if that man is Meng. Jiang, the master, says he respects his guts, offering a deal. Hand over the key and live, but Ye Beichen just smiles. He is the challenger here. They should be begging for mercy. He does not have their key, but it is high time to settle the score for all of their relentless hunting. The assassin master draws his sword. Does the kid take him for a fool? Lying right before he dies, he attacks, wanting to see how long. The kid can keep acting strong, but then the unthinkable happens. Without even flinching, Ye Beichen stops the projectile barehanded. Pure shock, the master and Sun Duo stare, completely unable to believe he caught a lethal weapon. Up on the rooftop, Meng Jiang is stunned. He never expected the kid to have skill. With a flex, Ye Beichen shatters the metal weapon into pieces. Shrapnel flies at the master. He barely deflects it, utterly terrified. The kid is way stronger than they thought. Debris strikes Sun Duo, blasting her backward. Blown clean away. In a flash, Ye Beichen appears with his sword drawn, telling Meng Jiang and the Juki Bureau cowards to get in the fight. Then he charges forward, shouting that taking on just one opponent is barely a warm-up. The assassin master barely blocks it, shocked by how fast Ye Beichen closed the distance. The heavy impact forces him back, his sword slipping and clattering to the floor. Ye Beichen readies another strike, warning the man not to blame him for being ruthless. Since he wasted his only chance, he immediately unleashes a brutal flurry of rapid sword strikes, slamming the assassin master hard against the ground. Sprawled in the dirt, the master wonders how this is even possible. Sun Duo rushes to call out to her boss, who is still slumped on the floor. Gripping his sword, Ye Beichen notes that the man vastly overestimated his own strength. Daring to face him with such pathetic power, up on the rooftop, Meng Jiang's lackeys shout that this cannot be happening. They seriously thought Meng Jiang was finished. Another realizes the kid was hiding his real power the entire time. At that instant, Meng Jiang orders them to trigger the trap and make him pay. Ye Beichen steps towards Sun Duo, demanding to know where the other Juki members are. But she just cowers, backing away while begging him not to take another step. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet splits open, dragging him straight down. He crashes hard onto the floor below, completely shrouded in thick dust. Meng Jiang laughs, boasting that this is the purgatory formation, where nobody ever escapes alive. He is confident the kid is a goner. Down on his knees, Ye Beichen tries to get his bearings, wondering if he fell into some array. He quickly figures out the Juki Bureau was too cowardly to fight him head-on. So they used these cheap tricks instead. Suddenly, 3 mud monsters rise around him. One massive beast towers above him. Ye Beichen leaps back just in time as it smashes the floor, leaving him wondering what kind of freaks these are. Before long, the mud beasts completely surround him from all sides. They crawl forward, pounding the floor all around him. Did they trap him here? Just to get ripped apart by these things, Ye Beichen instantly unleashes a massive slash, shouting out Tine Gen. The glowing energy cuts right through his enemies, slicing all the mud monsters right in half, but playing defense is useless. He needs to get out of here fast, but wait, things are about to get worse. The severed beasts start fusing back together. Shocked, he wonders if they are actually immortal. Fully healed, they charge at him once more. Seeing this, he decides that if they cannot die, he will slice the entire space surrounding them instead. He shifts his stance, preparing to face the monsters again, invoking the first stance of the heavenly thunder. Sword, he unleashes the technique. One sword opens the heavens, which tears right through them. The sheer force rips the entire pocket space apart. Meng Jiang spins around in utter shock, demanding to know what just happened. His men realize the entire array has shattered, terrified of the sword's raw energy. Meng Jiang watches in complete horror as Ye Beichen steps through the rift. Unable to believe he actually survived, watching from the shadows, Sun Du wonders. What insane level he must have reached to wield such monstrous power, Ye Beichen. He shouts out, demanding to know where the Juki Bureau cowards are hiding. His eyes scan the buildings and quickly spot them. Meng Jiang instantly realizes. They have been spotted. One subordinate asks if they should fight, while another suggests they can win if they attack together, but Meng Jiang warns that this kid is strange and they cannot afford to act recklessly. He then orders a hasty retreat to rethink their plan, and his men quickly agree, but Ye Beichen appears right in front of them, mockingly telling them to run toward the alley, realizing this. Meng Jiang understands they are in a terrible spot. Ye Beichen asks why they are running when they were the ones hunting him. One thug nervously demands to know what he wants. The young man replies that he intends to kill them all to settle the score. Meng Jiang warns him not to think they are terrified just because he killed their leader. One of the thugs declares that Ye Beichen is way too cocky to live, while another suggests killing him and handing his corpse to their master to turn him into a puppet. Hearing this, the young man simply repeats that single word, master. The two charge forward with a wild yell, one of them spinning a blade through the air. Ye Beichen effortlessly blocks the spinning attack with his sword, calmly remarking that their strength is decent but still nowhere near enough. As he shoves one opponent back, the other already leaps into the air to strike. The two, now on the